Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show, place about games, friends, and getting better. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by Jacob Geller.
Hello.
Joined by Haley McLean.
Video games.
Joined by Leo Vader.
Hello, I'm trying to find my get a load of this. I was late on it. Hopefully I'll have it by the end.
If anyone can help him find one, by the way, it's like in Hook, trying to find your lost marbles.
You only have 3 hours.
Yep, good luck.
Go to R interesting as F, Leo, on Reddit and pick the top one.
Yeah, smart. Also joined by Kyle Hilliard.
Yeah, Leo, grab one for me too, please.
You dirty dogs! You have all week to have something interesting in your lives.
I always think of something and then I think I'll remember it and I don't.
To be fair, I was also panicking, and before the show, I was like, well, I have one, but it's like a solid 3 out of 10, so let me just hijack one from the community and say, I also saw this. Well,
that's
look,
what
just because, yeah, they shared it in the Discord. It's up for grabs for everybody. But
that is foul. I'll never use our community for that.
I'll cite them. But that is the very end of the show, but we have a long journey to walk through before we get there, because we're talking about the PlayStation 5 Pro with a group that I like to call the Big Five. We're going to be dissecting this whole thing. Then we, of course...
Do you want 2 of us to leave so it can be the big 3?
It'd be nice.
Like perfectly
it would really make me feel better. We're going to be talking about Astro Bot a little bit, because Jacob Geller hasn't got to talk about it, and he has a scathing report for everybody out there.
I played it too.
Oh, great. Leo Vader is going to be talking about Wild Bastards, not the ones in his backyard.
Which I played that a little bit too. I don't think I called that out.
I also played that.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Awesome.
I really love it. I'm really excited.
Okay, cool. We're going to be talking about Warhammer 40K, Space Marine 2 a little bit. We're going to be talking about... Jacob, I was meaning to ask you, who is your beast?
Oh, I am your
that's
beast.
Right. That's right. I always forget.
I played that too.
Okay. All right, everybody, relax. We're going to be talking about Call of Duty Black Ops 6.
I played that.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak up or forever hold your Black Ops in peace? Okay.
Omni movement system. Sorry.
Don't spoil it. It's going to be a hot chat. We have so many games to talk about. We're going to be talking about Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics. We're going to be talking about Age of Mythology Retold. And then back half of the podcast here, we have a ton of questions submitted by the community on Patreon. Thank you, everybody over there on Patreon every single week for making this show better each and every week by posting so many great questions for us to wade through. It's like wading through hills of gold and plucking one strand. Anyways, the PlayStation 5 Pro was announced, everybody. Yeah, I'm a bit of a poet. So Sony finally revealed this thing that has been rumored for so long. This is the PlayStation 5 Pro. There was a whole presentation. It's my favorite type of presentation from a big publisher of... We're going to get out there because we have stuff to announce, but we don't want anyone to get excited about it. Please don't think about this as like a big reveal stream, filled with glitz and glamour. This is going to be the genius Mark Cerny, the architect of the PS4 and PS5, getting out there and talking tech. And still the chat was just lighting up for like, show GTA 6, Silk Song. But it's like, no. This is just a 9-minute video of walking through the reveal.
Show PlayStation 4 games.
Yeah. Where's the Borderlands 3 footage? Show more of that. But PS5 Pro, this thing is officially announced, coming out November 7th. We did a reaction stream. If you want to watch this exact group relive the magical moments of learning about this thing as we go. Jacob, PS5 Pro, how you feeling?
Or against?
Unfortunately, I think I'm PS5 against at this point. It's weird, and we talked about this on the stream. The big headline that you got to talk about is the price tag is bananas. That it is a $700 PS5, $200 more than the PS5 was at release, and they don't include the little plastic disc to hold your console up with that, and it costs more if you want a disc version. But the fact that it's $700 plus for that is just, it comes down to, like, I think the tech that they showed is neat as someone who is a tech enthusiast. I don't think there was really almost anything persuasive in like why it would be different to game on it.
Yeah, it was really interesting just to see the cultural momentum. I feel like for years now it's been building of like, graphically we're pretty much fine with these consoles. I feel like the mid-gen refresh last gen was the first time where it's like PS4 Pro, Xbox Series X, sure. Or I guess the Xbox One X, I should say. And now this time around, it just seems like everyone has completely turned to like, no, let's mock this company at this point for even offering this. Like, what? There's one tweet that just killed me, and I think they summed it up well. It's almost hilariously not worth it. Which is like, yeah, I think that kind of sums it up in a big way. Like, I would like to meet the person who's like, no, you guys, this is it, $700 for this version of a PS5 without the disc drive. It's totally worth it. But realistically, it's like, if you want to play Rebirth and more than likely be able to play 4K 60, here you go. Pony up, I guess.
Yeah, it feels like, we always think about graphics and whether they plateaued, and it feels like such a red flag, such a dead end to be like, it is a tiny improvement, and it still costs way more to get this much extra out of it. That's what makes it feel like, why are we even doing this?
Right. Yeah, and it's like,
how does it serve me?
Yeah.
Even to add other stats like 2 terabytes of storage. That would have been huge. I would have been like, okay, because I'm tired of deleting Call of Duty every time I want to download one new game because they never stop making those huge.
Yeah.
Like, bigger storage could have been one of a few other small changes that could have just made this. It's like, okay, maybe, because Haley, that changes how I play.
You do know that this does have 2 terabytes of storage, right?
Are you joking?
No, I'm serious.
It was old.
The slash on the side is ugly.
Oh, okay. Now she's getting to it.
I do like that. Why wasn't that in the trailer? That's a good tidbit to know. Was it in the trailer?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. You got to go to the PlayStation blog to get the full breakdown. I mean, it was a pretty breezy overview, and it's also just the challenge too of like.
You can fire me now. It's fine. I'm fired.
This is the last try.
It's crazy. It's the first mistake that's ever been made on this podcast. Yeah. It's wild. I can't believe you were the one.
Really sorry, guys.
I know you're kind of half joking about the slashes, but I still despise the design of the PlayStation 5 console. I hate the way that. Yeah, truly, because I know I'm kind of a. I don't know, maybe I don't think anyone else does this, but I move my consoles around my house a lot. Like I move the console into the bedroom, I move it in the living room, I move it downstairs, wherever everyone's hanging out. That's where I take my console. And I hate moving the PlayStation 5. It's like unwieldy, it's cumbersome, it doesn't lay flat. I have to carry a separate object with me if I want to lay it horizontally.
Right.
And the Pro is like not address that design at all. It just looks the same and with like a slight change. I've never liked the look of the console.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, the PS5 is such a unique looking console, and now they've had 2 opportunities to redesign it with the PS5 Slim and now the PS5 Pro, and both times are like, no, we're sticking with it. We're tripling down on the look of this thing, but we put, because this thing is the same size as the current PS5, except it's got the kind of black stripes on it. It's just odd.
Wolverine slash.
Yeah.
As you coined it, Ben.
Charging for the stand still, when it's like you could have made it not need the stand to be standing upright like it is in every image you've ever put out of it.
Right.
It's like, just feels disrespectful, truly.
And the fact that it's only 1 terabyte of storage is so insane.
I thought one of the really interesting things about the presentation was Mark Cerny said, we have the data, and 75% of people play on performance mode,
right.
The frames per second mode over quality mode. And what they were kind of pitching that as is like, hey, you know what's cool about the PS5 Pro? You'll be able to get quality mode at 60 frames per second. You kind of won't have to make that choice anymore. But I think that the way to interpret that statistic is currently the state of graphics is the minute improvement that you get in graphics for playing in quality mode is entirely not noticeable now.
Right.
And it's like, if I think about playing Spider-Man 2, once I switched it to performance mode or 60 frames per second mode or whatever, there was never a moment where I was like, this looks bad. I wish I could make this, it's just like you stop noticing immediately. And it really does feel like when they were showing off what they could do, they had to zoom way into the background on objects that you're not looking at in gameplay to show how they were higher detail. And I was just like, this is not convincing. This seems like the thing that my brain immediately tunes out, 5 seconds after I start playing a game.
Yeah, normally I'm with you. Although Rebirth is one of the few where I was like, on performance mode, I do think it just looks a little
Rebirth looks
rough.
weird on performance mode.
But, I was listening to Digital Foundry talk about this because they're smart over there. And they were talking about how funny it was that, like, when they were talking about, first of all, it's just bizarre to have somebody like Mark Cerny come out and just be like, you know what, 30 frames per second, it's choppy, it's gross. Or I feel like every other messaging from Microsoft and Sony over the last decade has been like, 30's okay, 30's fine for your console games, 30 will do. But it's interesting that like they only showed the Sony games running at 30 because they couldn't show like a third party game, be like, look at Hogwarts Legacy. This runs like trash on a PS5. So they had to like dog their own games in some way. It's just such a weird state of where we're at for these consoles.
That's so
here.
true. Because they started it like saying, isn't the PS5 great already?
Right.
For like half of it and then move forward to, but it could be better. But it's weird that they need to do all that convincing up front to just warrant, like the Ratchet and Clank crowds during the parade sequence look a little crispier.
Right.
Like, all right.
So the wording is really interesting about, talking about, hey, it's a difficult choice between graphics mode and performance. What are you going to do here? But even that, the official quote was, removing that decision, or at least narrowing that divide, is one of the key targets for the PS5 Pro. So they can't say like, goodbye choice. It's all 4K 60, whatever you want,
They still want that slider there.
Yes, they want to at least leave that room for like, the goal is to lessen the option in theory.
Which, is the reality of it. I don't begrudge them that
because they're
sure.
not going to have every designer like edited out of the game when it's on the PS5 Pro. The thing that I have been pondering, and maybe this is a dumb guy thought because I'm not a hardware manufacturer,
probably,
but the thing that was kind of explained to me about consoles is like, look, your average console maybe does not have as much horsepower as your average gaming computer. But the cool thing about a console is that it is a static environment that when developers are designing, they don't need to make it run on like the million different things that a PC could be. It can just be for this one thing. And that's how you can get something pretty revolutionary looking, like Metal Gear Solid 4 on the PS3, is they know like exactly what they're designing for. And these mid steps, and part of my frustration with like how long the overlap has been between PS4 and PS5, or like, just the previous generation and this one, is it feels like that advantage has been totally given up. And the few games that actually do take advantage of that, like Astro Bot or something, you're like, oh my gosh, look at these physics. This is unbelievable. Yeah. But, the PS5 Pro is just another thing where it's like, actually, we're still just designing for like two different things. And so you're still not getting that advantage of like the perfectly controlled environment.
Yeah. And on the software front, I do think it's interesting. We talked about it during the reaction stream, but like, it is telling that it's like, hey, $700, get a new PS5, everybody. And you know what we're going to do to show off the graphic capability here? We're going to show Last of Us Part 2, a PS4 game that has
Ghost of Tsushima.
Right. Where it's just like, this is where we're at in the industry, is like, they want to push this hardware. Hardware's getting expensive. I understand that. I don't think Sony is going to be bathing in wealth from every unit sold for the PS5 Pro or anything here. But at the same time, it's like, the other half of your team, the software front, we're struggling over here because it costs so much money to make these games, and it takes so long that when we have to sell the new console by being like, remember Naughty Dog? I know it's been like 4 years since you've seen anything from them, but they're still really good, right? Just keep that in mind that years from now, we're going to see something really cool from them.
Yeah, this game that was running on hardware made in 2013.
Right.
Now you can have it run in hardware made in 2024.
Right. Kyle.
Yes.
Let's stop being such jerks. Is there anything wrong with giving people this option? If Mark's here in the team over there are like, hey, we can beef up these stats. The developers want them beefed up. Why not get it out there? And this is the price we have to charge. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could look at it as kind of a niche console for the top tier consumer, right? Like they're not
kings and queens.
It's like for a small portion of people who just really have a lot of disposable income to throw at video games, who want it to be the best it possibly can be. And it's like, maybe they're not thinking of it as the primary PlayStation 5 console moving forward, which is kind of how I perceive it, right? If PlayStation's going to announce a new console and be like, well, this is the primary console now, but I mean, having that choice is fine, I guess, if we want to be sort of a little more optimistic about it.
Yeah, but if this is the primary console and they're saying so long disk drive, that's a pretty telling state of the industry that we're in. Because Jacob, you can buy a separate disk drive and hook it up to this thing, but there's not like two
but
SKUs.
You can't. Okay, so but it's still not in the model.
No,
it doesn't. I don't think so.
Yeah,
it's just Leo said on the stream yesterday. It's like, so now I have to separately have a Blu-ray player plugged in, like as it's something else taking up space on the console.
Or we don't have that many HDMI ports on our TVs anymore these days.
Right. Yeah, it's a bizarre state of things. So we mentioned it or teased a little bit, but I mean the quote unquote big three that they're using to market this, which I love. I love them trying to come up with some sexy way to spin this for everybody. But the quote unquote big three, as we like to call them, are the larger GPU, advanced ray tracing, and AI-driven upscaling. So the rendering is 45% faster overall, and then it has custom hardware for machine learning that they're calling PSSR, where they can up-res things using AI to get higher resolution for some of these games.
There was some stat released recently. It was like some research company that like consumers are like 40% less likely to buy an electronic that like uses AI. Like
Really?
Consumers are turning on AI because it's just become like a buzzword for like, we're going to collect your data. We're going to like collect your information.
Sure. It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, so there were rumors that, the next Switch is going to have this as well. Kind of like a built-in capability to kind of up-res previous stuff. And those rumors were a while ago. I don't know if those are holding water this day and age, but I'd imagine it's like, well, if Nintendo does some AI upscaling, it's all good. I won't be scared of them, but
they'll nail it.
Yeah, it seems all right. I don't think the advanced ray tracing is, right.
It's more of like an AI software improvement than an AI system that we're providing data into, though, right? Like it's like a thing that's taking data that already exists in the game and optimizing it, not asking us to insert our address.
It's like super advanced anti-aliasing is kind of how they were billing this thing, which, whatever. Again, I haven't noticed my games looking particularly aliased lately, but like it's not a big deal to have it for me.
Yeah, and then they threw up a Dark Souls
the series. Yeah. Does anyone want to sit on that joke for a little bit longer, or are we good?
It was a good one.
It was good.
Kyle, sorry, I knew I was interrupting you a little bit, but I just wanted
it's worth it.
I don't know what to say. I'm sorry.
Leo always takes precedent. Like you have to let Leo speak. It's gonna be funnier. You're gonna be grateful.
You're right.
We should have a hierarchy of people who speak at MinnMax so we always know who
that won't be problematic at all.
It's implied based on who cuts each other off, I think. So they said that all other enhancements include, this is on the PlayStation blog, PS5 Pro Game Boost, which can apply to more than 8,500 backward compatible PS4 games playable on PS5 Pro. The feature may stabilize or improve the performance of supported PS4 and PS5 games. Enhanced image quality for PS4 games is also available to improve the resolution of select PS4 games. These include Alan Wake 2, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Demon's Souls, Dragon's Dogma 2, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Gran Turismo 7, Hogwarts, Horizon, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Ratchet & Clank, Crewfest, First Descendant, Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, and more. If they just had one little tease of just like what this means, you already own Bloodborne at 60 frames per second, but like, nope.
It would be the cruelest thing they could do. It would be like, the only reason that I would be tempted is like, only on this thing, Bloodborne 60 FPS. Then I would be like, maybe I should sell my PS5.
Yeah. Haley, price tag?
Oh my God. See, now we're creeping up into PC. Like that's what's interesting about pricing of consoles is it could feel like they could go up forever, but they have the cusp of a PC, which is a little bit nice to have that like metric to keep things a little bit lower. Cause I did the math and this would be, if I bought it in my province, over $1,100 just to buy it with tax included and everything like that. And we are truly in PC territory at that point. Like, and I know like, there's so much more appealing. There's so many more different things that appeal to playing a console games versus a PC. Like I get that. I like playing console game, like sitting down in my living room with my TV. Like I know you could have the wire setups. You could do that with a PC too. But I loved consoles growing up. I like owning consoles. Yep. But you're just reaching a point where it's like, why wouldn't I just get a PC that can also edit things? Like I can go do a million other things, play games with my friend on Discord now, and don't have to worry about like all that other problem. Like it's just, I like that there's that cap there at least. And then I saw other people arguing like, well, they're trying to take into account the fact that you sell your PS5 too whenever you go to buy the new one, which not everyone does, but I saw some people arguing that. Right. But then GameStop slashed the price they're buying back PS5s at like the day that this got announced. So it's like, well,
that's our boys.
That sucks. So it's just like you can't really trust any kind of exterior market to them. Even if I was like, okay, well, GameStop buys them for X amount of dollars. Literally, the PS5 Pro got announced, and they're like, we take half as much now. So it's like, oh, that I can't do that now. So maybe someone on eBay won't read how much they're worth and give me too much for it or something.
That is such an absurd argument for people to make in favor of the Pro.
I know.
What if Mark Cerny was like, and the good news is you can sell your PlayStation 5.
We won't be mad.
Or I'll pay you for your ears. So I did a Twitter poll on MinnMax's Twitter just to get a sense of like, are we out of our minds? So 6% of respondents said yes, they're getting it in November. So it's like
60%?
6.
6. Okay. Whoa.
Yeah. 10% say they're considering getting one. And then 30% said, nah, I'll pass. And then 55% said, heck no, I will not be getting one. So it's like, maybe Kyle, maybe you're right. Maybe this is just that niche thing. And if you want it, you want it. But we're not going to hang all of our hats on it. But it's pretty damning, the reaction.
I do
like
price. Your angle of why not? Like, because we could just also not have this. Like, that's also good to remember too sometimes when you get wrapped up in like, oh, this is so expensive and annoying. It's like they could have just also not released this and we wouldn't have the option. So that's always something to think about too.
It's also that thing where I feel like we're getting kind of like heated, but it's like, we don't have to buy this.
Yeah, but Rebirth at 4K 60, Kyle, I'm sorry, that's a $700 investment.
We joked about people saying show GTA 6, but I do think that the biggest argument for this is that GTA 6, which is not releasing on PC at the same time as consoles or whatever, is going to come out, and there will probably be a noticeable difference.
Yeah,
maybe.
You're right.
I mean, it might be noticeable in the same way where you're driving and then you pause the game and zoom in on like the leaves of a tree and you're like, look, they're higher res on the PS5 Pro. But like that might be enough for some people.
Yeah.
I think there are some people who are probably only in this generation like waiting for GTA 6. And so, if they want to play the best version, that might be compelling.
Yeah, and the fact that it was so divorced from software. Like, I loved Rift Apart, but seeing the crowd sequence from Rift Apart one more time isn't like having me salivating by any means.
Yeah, because guess what? That game looked great.
Yeah,
when
exactly.
you played it, you were like, looks good. You weren't like, I need more pixels.
Yep. And we should mention, Xbox was teasing, Sarah Bond not too long ago, right, was talking about like, we are working on the most powerful console ever. So stay tuned for Xbox's future. So they're going to, I don't know if that means they're going to have just the whole leap to next gen and they're just starting to tease that to get people excited. But I think it's going to be another wave of people being like, how about you just make some games that are fun? We're fine. Stop making us spend that much money.
You put Bloodborne 60 on your console.
Yeah, you cowards. There's a comment too, just saying like, well, I think it was a comment to our reaction stream just saying like, well, this kind of proves that Nintendo has just won. Like their path is clearly the superior path versus higher and higher prices for these consoles and longer development times. Like I'm happy with Nintendo's route, but Kyle, inflation's a hell of a drug. How much do you think that Nintendo Switch successor is going to launch at? Are people going to have a similar reaction of like, are you out of your mind? I'm not paying that much.
Well, it'll be less than PS5 Pro. So
correct.
That will be like, in its favor that people won't be like, well, they'll be like, oh, at least it doesn't cost as PS5 Pro. I mean, is it probably like $499, right?
I think, yeah.
What was Switch 1?
It's $300.
What Switch 1 was $299?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think if Switch 2 I would guess $499 today.
Yeah. Maybe $349 if they really want to come in tight, but
yeah.
I think that's a fair bet.
I think that what the inflation talk to, what none of the companies really think about is like, yeah, inflation goes up, but the cost of living is higher than it's ever been, surpassing inflation issues. So like, you can say, oh, inflation is affecting these prices. Like if we account for inflation, the PS3 was X dollars, but it's like, yeah, but tomatoes cost 10 times more than they did in 2021. So like, and I need food more than a place. Like, it doesn't take into account how other people are spending more for basic stuff than they ever have in the history of the world ever, like partly due to COVID and other things as well. But I really think like I used to spend $60, $70 on groceries, and I'm spending $200 every time I go to the grocery store. And it's insane. And it's just like, that's what living in Canada is right now. So that also goes into the fact that when I hear it's $1,100 for this, I'm like, you're joking. That's like 5 trips to the grocery store. Like I just can't rectify it in my head.
Yeah. And that's the thing about like, yeah, of course it is fine. It doesn't really affect us, but there's the how dare you response to stuff like that.
Right.
And I think that's where it's coming from, is people are like, oh my God, I just want things to be priced normally again. Please stop. And then they see this price point and it's like, this is the last straw. Enough.
That's Cerny.
Pissed off.
Hey, you know what's making the world A-okay though? One little buddy called Astro Bot. He's got our back when we need him. Jacob, we were telling tales out of school with you last week about how you're texting all of us being like, guys.
I enjoyed hearing that.
This is the greatest game of all time. Guys, are you playing this? So you platinum this thing, Jacob, or 100% of it?
Yes, I have.
How are you feeling about it?
I love it. It's the best.
It's the best.
It's so good. I was talking to like my my partner's sister about it, who plays video games and has like 2 boys, and I was like, do they know about Astro Bot?
They heard the good word.
She was like, we don't even have a PS5, but they were like calling their little bike outside Astro Bot. I don't know where they learned about it.
Whoa.
That's so cute.
And Leo is somebody who's not a big platformy kind of man. What do you think about this?
I famously don't like anything like this.
Right.
Even the good ones. And this game has melted my icy cold heart.
Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God.
I'm really enjoying it.
I really had a moment of like, playing this thing before reviews are out there of like, I am charmed up to wazoo by this game. I'm having a blast, but like, am I under its spell? Is there some magical sauce here just playing this before anybody else get their hands on it? But I'm so thankful that once I got out there, the entire community in the MinnMax Discord is like, holy God, this is everything I wanted. Because I keep second guessing myself. Like, it is a pretty simple game. Like, I could understand some criticism about it, but it's like when it feels that good to play consistently and it's that creative and tight, like it's just perfect.
And I think it is, and this is where I've kind of been searching my own feelings, where like I love to be cynical about marketing things and references and whatever, and it's like I don't know why Astro Bot doesn't feel like that.
Yeah,
I think in part it is that they have such good taste in what they've picked. I mean, it is kind of it's like 160 different references, but like the fact that you're, very late in the game finding like base channel number 5 bots or whatever. And it's like, that's not something that makes Sony any money.
It's coming
like
from
having
the heart.
Space Channel number 5. And in fact, I think one of the more negative things that you could say about the game is it's just a reminder of how many like studios Sony has killed. There is so much of a love letter to Japan studios specifically in this game, which no longer exists, that it is like sad playing it many times. But it definitely, because of that, it does not feel like it is as much a piece of marketing as it probably operates as, with with us seeing all our favorite characters.
Well, I think it shares that sort of with Smash Brothers, which is like the decisions that are made for that game feel like they come from a place of passion from the studio. Yeah, like you're saying, like Jacob, like they could put a lot more contemporary like PlayStation games that they want to promote right now. But it's like, no, we want a Legend of Dragoon guy in there,
Yeah,
it's like, and that's what makes it feel more like not just an advertisement, at least to me.
Yeah, and it's fun
less
too.
Corporate for sure.
Right, and just thinking about like the fun that's happening in the hub of all these characters kind of interacting of like, oh, we have Solid Snake next to a Sam Porter Bridges. Like bot, like what a weird thing that this is the game that gets Kojima's 2 brands together, happily living in the desert hub world. Leo, what do you think it is? Why are you so tickled? What's wrong with you?
What was wrong with me, and now it's fixed.
Oh, right. Better reframe it, yeah.
If I can tell my piece for a minute, because I wonder if other people relate to it. I certain things like this I approach so cynically, despite wanting to not, despite going, I'm going to go in with an open mind. It's still like I catch myself like building a case against it,
right,
and having too many thoughts about it, where I'm like, how could what this game is doing good like reach me? Like I'm not letting it in as much as I want to. You know what I mean?
Sure.
If there's anything you're cynical about like that. And for me, I guess it's like, it wants so hard to be cute. I won't fall for that.
Yeah.
Whenever I think about it or say it aloud, it's like, it's so stupid. It sucks. I don't want to think like that.
That's how I feel about Nyx and Star Wars Outlaws. I get it completely. Yeah.
There you go. Yes. Yep. But I was truly like, I played it for an hour like that, didn't really like it. And I was like, I won't have given this game a fair shot until I play it again tonight, a little high.
Interesting.
And I toked my little vape and I played another hour and a half and I completely fell in love with it. It's so many ideas moved through so quickly. It is like idea or mechanic, twist, twist, twist. You never do it again.
Yep.
It's, you can't like be annoyed by anything because it moves by so fast, and it all is like so thoughtfully designed that you can't say there's no effort to it. It's like not just in the how the mechanics feel and how well thought out that is, but in the design of the characters and their little reactions. Everything just has so much care put into it, and how to make the cutest little enemy reaction to getting hit or to seeing you or whatever.
Yeah.
There's so much love. And when I got to the desert planet, the kind of hub planet where your bots help you out, you talked about it last episode of making the chain links and stuff. I was like, no matter what, this would have won me over. This is so objectively cute and cool and
stone cold sober.
God forbid.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, talking about like the level of detail, I was listening to Friends Per Second. They had a interview with Nicholas Doucet, the creative director, and he was talking about I think I might have known this in the past, but it's still wild to think about, where the animation director for Team Asobi over there was the lead animator for The Last Guardian, Jacob. So like the animator who animated Trico as a bot in this game also animated the real Trico. And it's like, that is that cool continuity, I guess, of Japan studio kind of living on.
That's funny because I was going to say, like, there is the games that I know well that the bots are in, you can see so much detail in their animation that then it makes me think that for the games that I don't know well, there's probably an equal amount of detail in those animations, which is probably true. But also the games that I know best are like Team Eco and Gen Design games. And that would make sense that they would kind of have the most care put into them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just the delightful deep cuts. I don't want to spoil the ending of Astro Bot and stuff. I do think it's wonderful. But, I was just thinking, remember a couple months ago on this podcast, Haley, you were like, what's a multi-tap? And we like talked about the multi-tap, and just the fact that like it feels like the multi-tap has like a beautiful starring role like towards the end of this game. I was like, God, this game is celebrating the PS1 multi-tap, and this is all I could ask for. This is making me happy.
I love the ending of this game so much.
Let's go.
So good.
There is a lot of room to be cynical about stuff like that, as we already alluded to, for sure. But it's like, it's telling how few people have problems with that just in the conversation as this game comes out. It's like, it just speaks for itself. It's pretty undeniable when you play it.
It's also, it's worth pointing out, I think, Haley, you said that your partner like watched you play the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Mine also was just like, you're playing Astro Bot, I am sitting down and watching. Like, I just want to see this game on a screen.
Yeah.
And mine was asking, why is your controller making so much effing noise?
Oh, you gotta mute that. Don't.
No, just the buzzing, the shaking.
Oh,
like it's like it just buzzes and shakes so much. It's like, what are you playing? This is driving me crazy.
Yeah.
Did you mute the sounds coming out of your controller, Ben? I liked that. I thought it was more fun.
I turned that crap off immediately. Like I feel like it's distracting. I don't want to hear the worst speaker in the world screaming at me from a different spot. That is an immersion.
But they use it. They use it to be like things that are bad speakers. It's
Hang on.
it's
do I
like
need to play this game again with the
noises.
speaker on? Is this going to change my entire perspective on it?
Like, it'll only be for certain things, not everything. Like if you're pulling a slot machine, it'll be like shkonk, like that'll be the sound that comes out of it, not like every sound that's around you right now.
Okay.
To prove it's the real me still, the haptic trigger stuff is annoying. I think there's diminishing returns on how hard you lean into it, and I just like hear it more than I feel it. It's really distracting.
Yeah. Do you think Sony's just at this point after the last 2 weeks, they're just sick of takes on the internet? To be like, you're the best, you're the worst, Concord, you're the best for Astro Bot, PS5 Pro, Mark Cerny, boo! Like, it's, oh my God.
Really.
They're paraboling all over the place.
Contain multitudes.
That's right. Leo, you said call your friends, tell them to gather around this podcast because I have a tale to tell them. It's about a game called Wild Bastards, which is out today, Thursday this week. This is the sequel? Spiritual successor? How would you frame it, Leo, to Void Bastards?
Successor. It could very well be in the same space as Void Bastards, but it plays completely differently. It is just still a roguelike shooter, basically.
Right. Rogue first-person shooter.
With the same like cartoon 2D cutouts coming at you in a 3D arena, which is a really novel look, and it's more beautiful here than it was there, even more beautiful.
Yeah, and you got into Void Bastards in a big way? I'm trying to remember.
Yes, on our trip to GDC together.
Right, that's what it was.
I played it in bed every night on the Switch. After falling off it, after playing an hour, I got back into it, blasted through it that week. And this too, the first hour, I wasn't totally sure, but I was like, on the strength of how much I ended up loving Void Bastards, I'm gonna stick it out and learn this, and I'm so glad I did. We're talking like number 3 on my top 10 currently.
Number 3. Whoa. Okay.
Wow.
And who else was playing it?
I played some.
Oh,
I played up to, I don't know, probably like an hour and a half, something like that. Yeah.
Coward. You got to keep going, Kyle. Just sit back with some weed.
I haven't finished Astro Bot. I've been saving the ending that I've been hearing so many good things about until I have like a nice 2-hour window where I can like play through it. I don't want to just have to stop after like 20 minutes or something.
Okay.
And in the world of Wild Bastards, Kyle is not a coward. He's a yellow belly.
Oh, of course. Cowboy sci-fi is the angle here for this thing. So they're packing in systems. It's a rogue game, so I know Leo's going to be a little bit intrigued. But what is elevating it for y'all above where even Void Bastards was?
The first striking thing is the characters. They're set characters. There's like 16 of them. There's a lot. And they have really cool designs, and they all feel different from each other. The first one you get is named Rosa, and she's a spider with 4 arms and 2 revolvers. So her little thing is she can reload one revolver while you're shooting the other with her backup arms. And there's the other one you get is Casino, who's this like poker-themed robot with a shotgun. And at the start of every match, every fight, you're rolling a different bonus to have on your shotgun to have it more like focused or do more damage or whatever. And there's a horse guy named Sarge who can gallop really fast and has this like overlay where he sees enemies from afar and what they're doing and what state they're in or whatever. They're like, they all feel completely different, and you can tell immediately which one you're playing as you switch between them, even though it's only first person. And what you do is you combine them into bunches. So you're sending 2 or 3 or 4 down to a planet at a time, and you're going over this kind of board game where they're split up. These guys will go hit this, because then once they do that, they'll be able to add allies to my fight over here with this weaker group when my group's weaker. And so we can benefit each other that way and smartly like carve through this overworld in between these showdown duel fights, which are kind of arena shooters. And I was kind of playing them initially like that, running, jumping around, doing my fast big brain shooter thing. But it's really more meant to be played like a cowboy shootout. Like you're sneaking around and you're popping out, you're listening for enemies and exploiting them, giving themselves away. If you find someone and they're already shooting at you, like they're going to take half your damage unless you just leave. Like you shouldn't just shoot them. It's all about outsmarting, thinking quickly, and doing smart things with your build. Like for once with that Spider Rosa character, I had some abilities where I could jump twice as high and my bullets locked on. And so I ended up on this moon planet where the gravity's lower, and there's this classic Western style fort that all the enemies are in. And I can just jump into the air and just spray, and I'm just homing bullets at all these people as I keep jumping over the walls and seeing them. And it was like a totally unique way to play that. And that just keeps paying off 20 plus hours in. All these weird combos of these unique characters with these cool abilities in these cool environments. It's also pretty. It all feels so good.
Yeah.
There's just constant moments to feel smart, which I really love.
Yeah, it's fun to think of that idea of like everyone be like, hero shooter, I'm sick of it, boo. But it's like, yeah, but choosing between different hero shooter like characters in like a single player puzzle-ish almost rogue game, it's like that seems fun.
For sure.
I also was impressed, Leo, I don't know if you feel the same, but like the performance I feel like it was like really good, and like all the characters have like really unique voice like performances and characterizations. And there's like this one enemy that will show up often who's like this rich kid who's like trying to like stop you.
McNeil.
And every time he shows up, I'm like eager to hear from him because he's just like, my daddy gave me this money to finally take you guys out. And like, I haven't ever heard him repeat anything. And it's just really, I don't know, the performances surprised me in how good they are.
Totally agree. That was really striking. You just are reading dialogue with their portraits, kind of, but I just listened to all of it because the performances were each so unique and good.
Yeah, and even the enemies you're fighting in the arenas, I mean, they have like tons and tons and tons of dialogue for them to say, even though ultimately what they're doing is just giving the player like an alert, like, hey, I'm over here, like, so you can find them. But the things they say are funny and interesting and good.
And they'll call out like, is anybody else alive? And if they are, somebody else, you'll see the sound pop up of somebody else responding, nobody responding, and them following up like.
Oh yeah, and if you get it down to one character, you'll see them shouting in the distance, like, I think I'm ready to just talk now.
So the coolest thing that I saw based on like a preview from Jake Decker over there at GameSpot, doing God's work as always, is the idea that like who you're bringing down on these missions, that can change based on discussions in between missions and like building up relationships. Is that a big part of the game? Is like characters, if you're not making them talk kindly to each other, they'll fall apart and then they won't work together? Is that in the game?
It's a friendship system that they will naturally start feuds with each other or become pals with each other from things that happen. Like they can get split up when you beam down to the planet, and then if you go and find the person who got split up, they're more likely to become friends and you'll get a cute little dialogue between them. And also when you are just going down with two people, when they come back up, a lot of times they will be mad at each other and just pissed at some slight the other one did while they were down there off screen, which is just the nature of these roguish bastards who are always getting on each other's nerves. And the system is you can collect beans. That's one of the precious collectibles that either removes a feud or makes two people pals, and you can select this guy's going to share beans with this guy, and that'll move that up a little bit. And that's a really precious
and if
resource.
They're feuding, they won't go to the planet together, right? Like you have to separate them.
Exactly.
Huh.
Right, okay.
So you kind of end up looking at your map of feuds, these lines between all these outlaws, and like, okay, I guess I could bring these two together. Or if I really gave some beans here, this would really open up my options.
Yeah, and if they're pals, they'll get like a bonus passive ability. Like if you're playing as one character, like, and Rosa likes you, she'll chuck down like a decoy on a random part of the map so that the heat goes off of you for a little bit, because she likes you. She's, I won't be doing this every time, and then she'll just chuck it down, and it'll be like the perfect moment usually that she does that for me. And I'm like, oh, thank God, I can run over here now. It's cool. It makes me want everyone to be pals. But yeah, like Leah was saying, beans are pretty precious resource. So you start bogarting the beans and be like, who needs to be best friends? It's some cool systems at play for sure. I also like that that first person shooter is the in between parts, because I really like Hades, but I'm bad at the fighting in Hades. So like sometimes it's like, oh, this game's so good, I wish I was better at it so I could finish a run better, like kind of energy. Whereas this, I play a lot of first person shooters, so it was more like, oh yeah, this is making me even better than normal style. That makes me sound like an asshole, but you know what I mean. Like it was something I'm already kind of okay at, and then it was like bumping me up with bonuses and extra stuff and better gear and new characters. Like I love the judge character, who was kind of like a sniper sort of style guy, and I had him beefed up so that everything was a one shot. So I was just like super quiet, and like no one ever found me, and I was just going pew pew pew, just walking through the map, one shotting everybody, and that's how I went through most of my run. It's just like judging it through.
Yeah, he's my lone rider, so like I send 3 down to the planet and the other 2 bunch up and go work together, but him I just like send on his own to do these little side objectives that I've like not quite made for myself, but like decided what matters on this big board game you're presented with.
Yeah, that's what's cool about
it so much.
Yeah, the reason, like, everyone has different kits, so it's also fun that the bunching system makes you think, like, should the fire guy go with the shotgun? Then there's probably not enough long distance stuff. I'll put him with Rosa, and I'll put Judge with the fire guy, so if I need to switch to some close range, like splash damage, I can do that, blah, blah. Like, you're having all these thoughts at once when you're planning to drop into any given planet, which is pretty cool.
And there's characters that seem weaker, like there's a snake called Hopalong that throws a lasso, which it can only hurt one enemy at a time, and you get screwed if somebody comes up behind you or whatever. So if they seem so weak, and you always pair them up with somebody who's stronger, because as the fights go, you switch between the 2 characters, and there's no presence for them. It's just like suddenly you're one, and you can use their abilities. Suddenly you're the other one when you decide, and it's exactly where you were. It's hard to describe, but it works really well. But yeah, then you end up like, oh, this person died. No, I have no choice but to use this one I didn't really believe in. And then you end up learning like how to use them better, or getting an upgrade for them that's like, oh, this makes them completely viable. It's like, it's full of surprises and genuinely good shooting in the shootouts. Like it's my kind of shootouts where bullets bullets matter and you have to be careful. And if you lose patience, that's what gets you killed. And it's really rewarding.
That's sweet.
And you'd also think the space and cowboy thing would be kind of like a weird combo, but they pull it off somehow. I don't really know how they pull it off, but like you'll go from running through the dirt and the snow to just like, beam me up, Scotty, and then you go to the next planet, and you think that would be kind of like juxtaposition-y weird. Like that doesn't feel good, but it feels good here for some reason.
And I don't know how this horse became sentient, but it's like all your bastards are just aliens or animals or robots, and all the enemies are humans and they hate you because you're not human. And that's like such an easy space thing to buy into. Like, hell yeah, screw these guys.
Awesome. Yep. Wild Bastards. This thing's out on Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, everywhere except for Switch. But cool. Yeah, I definitely want to check it out.
Amazing Steam Deck game.
Ooh, that does sound good. Does sound good.
Game of the week.
Hey, there's this other game that's out that's called Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. I played a bit of that first game back in 2011, and back in 2011 I was like, this is solid. This is better than you'd think it'd be. This is a cool game. And so I've always had this little fire in my heart for like a big Space Marine defender. And now Space Marine 2 came out and I played it. And I'm like, this is solid. This is great. This is better than you think it'd be. And so I feel like I'm rooting for this game. And specifically, I'm thinking of like, you Gears of War people, Jacob Geller, I'm looking at you in particular. How are you feeling about Space Marine 2?
This is how you pitched it to me, is like Gears of War, which I thought, started playing it, I was like, that was a weird pitch because I don't think this game plays at all like Gears of War. But
they're chonky guys with chainsaws. What do you want?
Yeah, I thought, okay, that is true.
I think it's more that Gears of War took a lot from Warhammer stylistically, but this is a World War Z Left 4 Dead kind of game, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, what if you wanted to sell it to me even more so? You would say, this is not a gun game. This is a gun sword game, because that's what I started playing. I was like, oh baby, this is my favorite thing, which is constant mixing of gunplay and melee combat. And like, that's when I realized that that's what it was, and that you were going to be both like shooting people, but also like having parry mechanics and like finishers, and then able to like combine those two things. I was very excited about that. And then, yeah, Leo and Sarah and I played it for an hour on New Show Plus yesterday, and I would say had a blast. Like, really, really had a good time with it.
Nice, with the co-op. Yeah, I mean, you talk about mixing that melee and the gun stuff. Like, it's such a satisfying game in a lot of different ways. We're not talking Astro Bot levels. Don't get carried away. But like, specifically that move where you're like using the melee and then just pivot for like the finish off with the gun, and the camera like zooms in and it's like the automatic lethal blow. It's the knockback gun strike. Always so damn satisfying.
Which explodes like 8 enemies around them for almost no reason.
Right.
That stuff feels so good.
It is really a game that is like built on the back of how good the animation work is, because like the weird thing about Warhammer is you're playing these guys built like brick houses, you know, and they're just so big, and you expect them to move very kind of clunkily, and they don't. They're very responsive, but it does that kind of magic animation thing where it's still selling everything being so powerful. And it's like, when you're firing guns here, you have the feeling of like, oh, a normal person could not hold this gun. You know, it's only because I'm this like 10-foot tall behemoth that I can fire a carbine this big. But then it still feels really like snappy and good. And it's like, yeah, I don't know quite how they pull it off, but it feels both very responsive and still like everything has the appropriate weightiness to it.
Yeah, in the stream you compared it to like Armored Core on that front.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
My reaction to it was kind of like, was like, oh, is Warhammer interesting? Because like this was like, I was an absolute zero for Warhammer. I don't know anything about Warhammer, but just playing this for an hour, I was kind of like, what's going on in this universe? This is kind of crazy.
Well, there's some things,
got cool designs.
If you're looking to get into Warhammer, I think there might be a world ready for you to discover, Kyle. I don't know.
If only there was some avenue to get into Warhammer.
I mean, it's funny just seeing like so many things being influenced by Warhammer, so then playing a Warhammer game, it's like, why is this like StarCraft or Warcraft or anything else, Gears of War. It's like, okay, I see.
Chainsaws on a gun? Who came up with this?
Right. Yeah, but I mean, I don't think you need to be too intimidated by not being a Warhammer person with this game. Like in the beginning, I think like title screen or like before title screen, there's this text on the screen that just says, "In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war." Like, okay, got it. Like I'm feeling okay for understanding what's going on in this universe on the surface of surface levels.
And it's like, if you're into Warhammer, I'm sure there are lots of little touches that, you'll be excited to see. If you're not into Warhammer, then you get to experience things like you're trying to launch a nuke and they're like, you need to find the guy who does prayers over the nuke before you can set this off. And your guy's like, ugh, and then you have to like go somewhere and do something else. And it is, I mean, Sarah kept saying like, if I knew this was like space Catholics, I would have been into it sooner, because you were in these like big cathedrals lit by like millions of candles, and the aesthetic is really cool.
Yeah, it's a really good looking game too. Like even just the cape physics early on, it's like, well, that's the best looking cape I've seen in the game. Just it's sweet. I'm trying to understand like the structure of the game as you go on, because the Gears of War comparison, I get it. It's not exactly the most apt thing.
It's not really a cover shooter, right? Ultimately.
Right.
No, not at all.
Right.
Which is great. There's no cover button.
Gears of War is primary thing. So it's really more aesthetic where that comparison comes from. I mean, it is the World War Z team.
Okay.
And I think that's evident. I like World War Z a lot. I don't know how you guys feel about that game. That was, outside of Left 4 Dead, that was like my favorite, in that genre. And I can see a lot of that in here, even just in the the engine and stuff like that. It feels kind of similar in a positive way.
The other comparison that we haven't trotted out yet, but is pretty obvious while you're playing it, is like, in a year with a lot of Helldivers 2 hype,
right?
This is another game where you were fighting a bazillion bugs at the same time. And I think I actually didn't know the World War Z thing, but it makes a lot of sense, because like, it is a game where the levels are they're very linear. They're not corridory, because you're in pretty big open spaces, but it's like you will walk from one place to another, and then there will be a wave of seemingly hundreds of little alien dinosaurs are the only things that I fought, at least at this point in the campaign. And I just finished playing EDF6. It's another game where you feel like you're being just overrun by bugs. And they even do the World War Z thing of like, they are climbing on top of each other to form a tower to get somewhere. And then if you throw a grenade at the bottom of the tower, they all fall down. And it's awesome. But it is like, Left 4 Dead maybe is another comparison of like, you're just kind of going to places and you're doing pretty basic objectives like, lift all these 4 sides of a satellite dish. And that's very easy to do, except there are, 1,000 dinosaurs running at you. And so then you shoot them all.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we should point out, so this is Saber Interactive, the developer. There's the whole saga where they bought the company back out from under Embracer and got to keep working on this project. Tim Willits from id, that was his name, right, Leo? You interviewed him.
Yeah.
Went over and is a lead at that studio over there. But their next game, I believe it's next on the docket, is that Jurassic Park Survival. If you remember that teaser trailer where it looked kind of like Alien Isolation, but Jurassic Park. But now if we can just expect like 3,000 Dilophosauruses spitting at you at once, like that's good gaming right there, I think.
Some copies.
Nice dino pull, Dilophosaurus.
Hey, thanks so much, Haley. I got him. I got a Rolodex. It's kind of like some people have a pocket Constitution. I have a pocket Jurassic Park Survival
At nighttime,
guide.
your wife holds up cards and you're like, go on.
I'll impress somebody someday. But
we were talking on New Show Plus about poor Exoprimal. The world just wasn't ready for it.
Yep. Someday our kids are going to love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Space Marine 2. You guys think you're going to keep playing?
I think I am.
Okay.
It is just not mentally demanding enough. That it's like, I think it's smarter than it could be, but it does not take like 100% concentration. So even if I'm just playing it single player, maybe I can maybe can turn on a podcast or something while playing it.
That could be.
I'm purely in just like if it was a less stacked year, I would probably play more. But I don't know. There's so much.
There's so much, including one game called I Am Your Beast. At some point, I believe Jacob Geller proclaimed it to be his most anticipated game to continue playing this year, if I remember correctly. Yeah. This is from Strange Scaffold over there, which has been releasing so many games. Click Holding just came out not that long ago, and then El Paso Nowhere. That's the other one. Elsewhere. But then there was Nowhere as well, right?
There wasn't an El Paso Nowhere, but there might. But
there's another El Paso game, isn't there?
I thought this was another classic Ben Goof.
No, guys.
There's only one.
Let's just laugh.
Hang on. Let me.
Nice one.
Hang on, guys. Hang on. El Paso Nightmare.
El Paso universe?
It was called El Paso Nightmare, you guys.
Nightmare.
Still wrong a little, though.
A little long. Just a little bit long. Hey, Jacob, how is I'm Your Beast?
It's great. We talked about this because they had a really good Steam Next Fest demo for this game, and the full game is exactly what you would expect based on that demo, which I have no complaints about because the game is really, really good. It is a first-person shooting speedrunning game, kind of in the vein of something like Neon White, though less puzzly than Neon White, but like pretty short, discrete levels where sometimes the objective is just kill all the enemies. Sometimes it's like use all these laptops, and using a laptop is just like hitting a button on them. And you're just trying to do them as fast as possible, and then sometimes with some side objectives. And it is just incredibly fun gameplay. You just run so fast, shooting people feels great. Everything, just like game feel wise, it is tuned to be a speed running game in a way that I really enjoy. And then the other like Strange Scaffold thing is the writing and especially the vocal performances are really strong.
Yeah.
This is Xalavier Nelson Jr., who's was my favorite thing about El Paso Elsewhere, which is a game that I had pretty mixed feelings about, is I thought his performance as the main character was stellar, and he is not playing as he is the protagonist again, and the character is not quite as complex, but the voice direction is just really fun.
Yeah.
It's weirdly understated, but the conversations sound very natural between the characters, and it's all very stylish at the same time as feeling natural. And so in another game, it might be kind of a bummer to just have to listen to an audio conversation between each level, but the audio itself is done well enough that it's always kind of a treat.
And it's such a weird idea too, but it's a super effective thing to have, little audio narration in between levels, but then they just put the text on the screen in huge aggressive letters, and somehow that makes it like, I really need to pay attention to this. If it was just, character profile icons popping up, and be like, okay, got it. Yeah, the voice acting is good, but suddenly it just feels like the most stylized choice just to flash huge subtitles at you.
It has big letters.
Huge letters.
I'm listening.
Come on, man. So the premise of the game, you work for the Covert Operations Initiative, or at least you did, and now you're kind of getting vengeance on them.
You're like a defector who seemingly went off to live on his own in the wilderness, and they're trying to pull you back for one last job, and you don't want to do it.
Right.
And so it's, it is kind of I wouldn't call it like a super in-depth critique of the military or anything,
Sure.
but it's certainly like, it's kind of like, how do you have an interesting game where you're killing a bunch of soldiers and like not have it feel propagandistic? And it's because this guy is like trying to leave and they keep trying to pull him back in. And so it's like, it's fun. That's what I would describe it as.
Yeah. Is Angerfoot a comparison that anybody else thought about?
For sure. We had this code for a while, and I was like, I want to get to it, but Angerfoot, I feel like scratched the same itch. But playing this, it really feels remarkably different for them both being super fast speedrunning kick people games. That one is like Angerfoot is goofier and funnier and so stylish in its own way. Don't want to discount that at all. But the game feel on I Am Your Beast can't be overstated. When you get headshots, it is like an explosion and a red X is drawn over their head, and you get like a time. The way they do timing is different types of kills knock time off of your end time. So you can and probably have to get to S rank is like do the best kills on your way, and you see the math of that at the very end, and it just feels amazing.
I think it's really well tuned to like it lets you feel good at the game pretty quickly. You don't have to work that hard to feel good at it, and so you get that feeling of, you know, it's like I S ranked all the missions, and I would say it took me probably maybe like 5 or 6 tries to get to S rank, but it's not like 20 or 30 tries. You know, you can do it all, and it's not that demanding. It's just enough that it makes you, you know, it's like when you finish, you might be like, oh, I only need to do this 4 seconds faster to get to S rank. And so then, you know, you're very kind of pushed to do that.
Yeah, and throwing stuff, you press the throw button with an item in the general direction of somebody, and it perfectly hits their head. And there's health everywhere. It does make you feel good at it from level 1, no matter what.
Yeah, that's sweet. Is it Steam exclusive?
I think for right now it is. The updates have been coming pretty hot and fast. I will say before release, there was a lot of stuff still being kind of worked out. Currently, it feels pretty stable, but like that implied to me that it's not quite ready to be on Switch yet or something.
Right. But that's awesome. I'm glad you love it. I Am Your Beast. So everything you're hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Haley, similar vein, everything you've been hoping for in the world. Call of Duty Black Ops 6. You've been playing that beta?
Call of Duty Shooter Man.
Yeah,
I've been playing it.
And how's it treating you?
It's Call of Duty Black Ops. I mean, like, this is my comfy, like, play with my older brother game since I can remember games. It's like, I've played every Black Ops, and it's especially playing so many hero shooters this year. This isn't a hero shooter, but playing so many first-person shooters this year, it's like, oh, it's Call of Duty. It just feels a little comfy to come back and be like, the shooting is so good in Call of Duty games, right? Like, as much as it's the same every time they release a new one, it's like, yeah, but it still feels really freaking good to play Call of Duty game. And I really buy it. It's the kind
of thing that gets taken for granted, right?
Yeah.
At that point, like, yeah.
It's just, there's a reason there's a million of them.
The best shooting ever made every year, you know?
Exactly. They look insane. Like, the graphics look great. And I totally buy into the whole, like, I really like trying all the guns and watching YouTube videos on what's the best run and gun setup right now. And like the way that you level up guns in Call of Duty is like, okay, I can only like this piece if I get to level X on this random bolt action rifle. And I'm like, I guess I got to get good at bolt action rifles for a little bit. And you kind of do get good. You're like, okay, this is fun. I'll switch back to like, I like bouncing around doing that kind of stuff. But the biggest thing with Call of Duty, especially Blackout games, is they kind of blend together for me. Like, you could show me gameplay from, as you know, any of the most recent 3, and I'd be like, I don't know which one this is, but they do have the Omni movement system in this one, and the beta kicks off with you coming in, and they highly encourage you to do like a quick little 4-minute training area just to show you what the system's like.
Yeah.
And I'm somebody who doesn't normally slide in shooters. I know that's probably to a detriment, but I don't like to play them that way. Like, whenever someone slides and shoots me, I'm like, you sweaty bastard. Like,
Leo doesn't know how not to slide.
Yeah. I just don't tend to play that way. That's very like all over the place, like fidgety. Right. But this system that they have in here is kind of making me play that way, and it's like making me have a lot more fun with the thought of dive bomb around the corner and hope for the best, and like doing those kind of plays instead of just peeking everything like I normally do. So everything's a lot more fast paced.
Yeah. So what is the idea? It's just you can sprint any direction now, and that's just a bigger game changer than you would think. You
can sprint every direction. They still have the normal slide like they always have. Like you could always slide in Call of Duty, but now they have a dive functionality that kind of feels like you're sliding, but then you fully go onto the ground. And when you're on the ground, you can 180 look around really quick. And what's really great is you're completely out of eye line sight. So it takes a lot of people a few seconds to go, where is he? And then by the time they look down, you've already like shotgunned them in the crotch and you're moving on to the next person. So it's really like they had one setup which was just like fast-paced death matches in small maps, which I was like, hell yes, that's exactly what I want to do. So I kept loading into those ones because I just wanted to play shotguns and like have fun. And I was popping the hell off. I was like, what's happening? Like I was actually doing good, and normally I get rocked in those kind of environments. Like I can't remember the last Modern Warfare, there was some really close map where you're on like an oil tanker and it's like a bunch of just like container ships and you run around, and I just get rocked in those. But for some reason here it was so fun because I was just taking those risks of like, I think I hear somebody, and instead of just peeking and they're better at shooting me in the face, I was just I was diving instead and catching people off guard. And I was like, wait, this is actually really fun. And it's kind of separating that for me. It's not as lumpy with the rest of Black Ops games just because of that system. So I was having a lot more fun with it.
It reminds me of like a siege drop shotting in my heyday, which was so annoying, where you would just go prone and shoot somebody so that they'd have to like change where they're aiming and shoot down at you. People would get kills with it all the time, and it was the sweaty thing. And it was partially annoying because it looks so stupid, and you're like, wow, you're selling out this tactical shooter to do this annoying thing that unfairly gives you an advantage. But it's like the way people want to play, and it sounds super exciting. Like making that actually look good and be a mechanic that everybody has access to and wants to do is probably the right way to go.
And usually going prone is like you're getting that benefit of being below eyesight with the limit of you can't really look as well as you want to. Like you try to look up and it's kind of like you can only go so high. But the way they have it is your character will fully go back onto their back and be looking up and can completely turn around and shoot people up like that way. And if you're not quick enough, you still are vulnerable because you're still in one place. So there is like a sacrifice of like, if you miss the crotch shot, you're getting killed on the dirt. Like, sorry, keep going. Like there's still that play there where it's not completely unfair or whatever. But I think I think it's different and it feels really fun. And another thing they added to this, which I think is just so genius, and it's just such a silly thing. I want them to add more jovial, silly things. And I feel like they're trying to do that in this one. They've
lost their sense of joy in Call of Duty. I agree.
Yeah, it's all just war. It's like, what are you guys doing?
What is this, Warhammer? Come on.
But if you grab someone from behind, you can hold them, and then you get proximity chat to talk to them, and it's so freaking funny. Like it's I've seen so many TikToks and videos, and I was doing it myself. Like there's one guy who I sniped across this, like there's dual mansions, and I was across on one side of the mansion. I sniped him like 4 times. And I was like, I know he's gonna come try to flank me right now because he's probably pissed because I just hit him 4 times in a row. So I backed up and kind of like got out of line of sight, and he came around to see where I was, and I came up and I purposely took off my mic because I was like, I hope this happens, and it literally happened. And he came around and I grabbed him, and I was like, thought I was just gonna be still sniping, huh? And he didn't say anything, but like I love that he heard me say that. I was like, well, now I'm gonna kill you this way, and like shot him. And you can like click a button just to shoot him in the head. That's so freaking fun.
That's the most chilling thing you could hear at any point in your life is, now I'm gonna kill you this way.
It's so fun. I saw there's a new trend with girls who play Call of Duty that in that same mansion map, there's like a kitchen in the middle. And what they do is they hop on and they try to grab guys who are being assholes in chat, and they bring them to the kitchen, and they go, time for you to come to the kitchen. And then they shoot them in the kitchen. It's like this whole thing they're doing. It's like, yes, more of that. That's so silly. Like that's already making me differentiate this from every other Call of Duty, even though it's just a silly little gimmicky thing. It's like, yes, that's such a no-brainer. That's so fun. I've seen so many different videos of the same thing. There's 2 guys who grabbed 2 guys and dragged them into the shower on the map and was like, you stick, because you can delay when you kill them. You could just hold them for a little bit. They're like, you're coming with me. And like people who lean into the bit, they're like, oh no, they're like having fun too, even though they're about to die. It's just great.
It's so weird for a community that can be toxic at times. Everybody complaining about voice chat.
It is the most toxic lobbies I'm ever in.
The most toxic feature for the most toxic community.
But that's
if you're having fun with it.
I know, it's so weird because they're trying to like crack down on the community in such a big way for like reporting, but then at the same time it's like, yeah, but if we open these lines of communication, like it is more fun. It's such a tough balance for the devs.
I think it's a balance of there's toxic, like I'm gonna kill you, like, you know, like that kind of energy, and
come to the showers.
This is a fun way to kill you, and like letting the community play with that. Like I don't think anyone's using that mode to like be toxic because it's such a fun like thing. Yeah, well, there's gonna be every
I know
Alan 223 or whatever the hell, but.
I worry it could be used. I mean, as great as it is that women are bringing guys to the kitchen, I worry it's going to be more often used to grief women horrifically.
Very true, Leo. That's true.
Perhaps too soon to say.
Yeah.
The videos I've seen, it's just the women bringing it to the kitchen, and it's been glorious.
All right, I'm glad that this is so fun to play. It's like, for Call of Duty for so long, it was just, I kind of liked how clean it was. Like, this is Sledgehammer's turn. This is Treyarch's turn. This is Infinity Ward's turn. And I feel like now it's all just a bit of a blur of like, okay, this is a Treyarch and Raven co-production.
They have a launcher where they listed every developer at the start. Before and they would let me skip it too, was the other weird thing. I downloaded the launcher and it was like, Treyarch, Sledgehammer, Toys for Bob, blah, 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 like 10 million things in a row. And I was like, skip! And they wouldn't let me. But yeah, no, they seem to be really blending together.
Yeah.
The concept of Call of Duty for sure.
Yeah, but October 25th is when this game is actually coming out for Black Ops 6 there. Kyle?
Yes.
You ready to be taken for a ride, man?
Take me for a ride.
Take me for a ride, as they say in this game. Catch a ride. Come play Marvel vs. Capcom. The Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics. God, I should put that in as a Trivia Tower prompt, trying to get the name of this game exactly right. Otherwise known as Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is playable on modern consoles. Come on down, everybody. It's a fun fighting game.
There's some other stuff in there, too.
I mean, it is cool. You can go through the full history of this sub-series, right? And to see like the full history of Marvel fighting games with Capcom and how that slowly built over time. Like, okay, let's get just Street Fighter versus X-Men in there. Okay, now we'll add more. But as we've talked about this game too much on the podcast in the past, but like I've fallen in love with Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I bought that arcade 1-up cabinet maybe 2 years ago. I think last summer is the first summer that I was playing it a lot. And so I've played so much of this game. I really love it. It's just good, silly fun. It's the closest, I was going to say the closest Capcom ever came to the Smash Brothers, but I guess that's Power Stone, isn't it? But it's just good.
I mean, it depends on what part of the game you're talking about, right? Because a big appeal of Smash Brothers is just the disparate franchises and characters that all come together, and Marvel vs. Capcom 2 has that in spades. I remember the first time I saw it at an arcade and Mega Man popped on screen.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Mega Man's in a fighting game? What is this?
Yep. It's so fun too, as a specific time and place for Capcom, because this game came out in 2000, I believe. And so it's like right when they were in the heat of the Mega Man Legends franchise. So for like this game to have Mega Man in it, Tronbon in it, Servbot, Roll. It's like 4 Mega Man Legends characters, more or less, like in this game. It's such a wild, cool thing. But you played a lot of this game on Dreamcast, so what is it like to go back to it now?
Yeah, I mean, it was funny. I borrowed a Dreamcast from my friend John up the street for like a month or two. And yeah, I played, I'm not a fighting game guy, but I played a ton of Marvel vs. Capcom 2, just single player.
Huh.
And I was always Spider-Man, Strider, and Hulk. And it all came back to me like when I booted it up. I was like, oh my God, I had that team, and like
Fun.
it's been really nostalgic. And the game, I mean, there's a reason it's like a fighting game classic, because it just has so many characters and it looks so good.
Yeah.
The sprite animation is just fantastic. Like it's worth, like, I mean, it is the main game in this package. It's the reason a lot of people are going to buy the game, and it's like it would be worthwhile on its own. It's that good.
Yeah, and they have some museum stuff. Like here's an art gallery. Like they had just having the character move lists for someone who's just played the arcade version. It's like, oh, thank God, this is so helpful to have right here. And then they even have, this is so dorky, but they have like a big marquee card that lists like all the controls in the game, all the characters moves, well, most of the characters moves in there. And it's like this huge splash screen. And so now I'm like, okay, I need to just screen grab this and then bring it to like a Kinko's and print it out and laminate it and put it on the wall next to my arcade cabinet.
Good,
but it's like, all right, this is why this collection is amazing for someone who's fallen in love with this game recently. And obviously the big thing is the training mode, right? And so it is like the arcade game. It's not like the Dreamcast version, which had the training mode in it, but it's weird because in this, it's like you're choosing from the menu to go into like a training mode version of the game. It's not like within Marvel vs. Capcom 2, there is the training mode option, but now I can finally practice moves. So I got like my fight stick out. I had like a great evening a while ago of just drinking a beer, get my fight stick out and just practicing moves in this game finally. And then I got to the point of like, well, I certainly know all this character's moves. Like I really love Sansan, like the little monkey girl. Her moves are so fun. So
what is she from?
Great question, Kyle. She's kind of sort of an original. So there's an old Capcom arcade from like 1984 that I think is also called Sansan. But then the idea is she is that character's granddaughter.
Of course.
Yeah. It's Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is confusing because it's like all these iconic characters, and then we made up like 3 of them. Here's Ruby Hart, everybody. And it's like, who is
Okay, I pulled her up. I remember her now. Yeah. Because she's Goku, right?
That's it. Like she's Goku. Yeah. She's got the power pole. She's super fun. You should play as her more often, Kyle. You should show respect to Sansan. Anyway, so like I was learning all these characters' moves. It was having a good time. And then at a certain point I realized like, I don't think this is the problem with me with this game. Like I can know the character's moves. I just need the training of when to use which move when. And so after all this training at home, I went out to our lake place where I have the arcade cabinet and was playing with my 10-year-old nephew again. And after all that training, he still
destroyed him, right?
No. Oh, how I wish. He has been training on his own just with the arcade and just destroyed me. And I was like, I've learned all the moves. This is impossible. And then I realized, maybe the problem isn't that. Maybe the problem is that I'm so locked into my freak team of like, I want Servbot, I want Tronbot, I want those freaks out there. And so like for one round, I was like, let me just choose, I don't know, like Doom and War Machine and Gambit. And I just like smoked them. And it's just like that horrible feeling of like, oh, maybe characters are important in this game and I can't just choose the freaks that I think have funny moves.
Well, with fighting games, there's this weird trajectory where like you start and you're just hitting buttons and you're making progress, right? And then you go into this next level where you have a few characters you like and you really know their moves.
Yeah.
But then the people who are still mashing buttons can still absolutely destroy you.
Right. That's the problem.
And then it takes them also getting to where you are and you guys all going together to finally get to a place where you guys are actually like playing it properly. Like that was the Dead or Alive 4 experience in my dorm room where I was like, I had played the most, but everyone in the hallway could still kick my ass.
It's the worst.
They were just like mashing buttons. And then after a couple weeks later, when everyone had played a bunch, so we were all kind of on the same level, then it became more fair.
I mean, I imagine like a fighting game aficionado is going to listen to you saying, I learned all the moves, and here's someone being like, I learned all the letters. Why can't I write a book?
It's exactly
that. What matters when you use
it is exactly that. It's such a stupid approach to this whole thing. But I do want to stream Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and get some pros in there. So follow us on Twitch. I'll jump in the Discord and let folks know. But like playing people online in this, I think is going to be so fun. And especially if you know this game well, like let's coach each other up. I think it'll be a fun time in that MinnMax Discord.
Do you know, does it have like rollback netcode? Like, is it like a good version of the online?
It seems like the hardcore fans are pleased.
Okay.
Yeah. From everything I can tell, but I'm curious to see now that's out in the wild how it's going to hold up and all that stuff. But it seems like this is the version of this iconic game that everyone's been waiting for. So
you've learned all the moves. Have you tried to learn all the combos?
There's combos? No, that is honestly, that is my next hurdle, is like, especially when I watch the pros and it's all just like, okay, it's all just air juggling. And I could not name one combo in this game, Leo. My fingers could not inflict a combo on anybody out there. So I have so much room to grow. But the Servbot,
hey, learning the moves is the first step.
Learning the moves, everybody. So yeah, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics. Microsoft announced that it will be coming to Xbox, I think next year. We worked out differences, so it is actually going to be coming after all. But it's so cool to have the training mode and everything in there, and it's cool to have these games available again here. Speaking of,
that's the only Spider-Man game that's going to be on Xbox. Right. Because Marvel Avengers, you can't play Spider-Man on Xbox, right?
Yeah. Well, like Lego. Can you play
Lego
Marvel Avengers?
Yeah. Plus, I mean, they own Beanox, and Beanox made all those Spider-Man games, so you could play those backwards compatible. So that's got to count for something, I think. There's this other game that is also back from the dead. My God, Age of Mythology Retold. Came out last week. This is an RTS from 2002, originally a spin-off from the Age of Empires series. Imagine all the fun of Age of Empires, but if instead of a guy with a sword, your characters were crocodiles that shoot laser beams out of their heads. It's like, well, this is just objectively a better game at this point. And so we did a stream a while ago, last week, on MinnMax's channel. It's on our YouTube channel now. With some old friends of playing Age of Mythology Retold, and I was so tickled pink that one Haley McLean, who has never played an RTS before, was like, I want to play. I want to jump into this free-for-all and play with everybody. Haley, how are you feeling after that experience? Was I describing the game well? Do you feel like you knew what you were getting into?
I went and watched like YouTube videos after we played and stuff.
Yeah?
Like I was getting into like figuring out how to do it better, and there's definitely shortcuts that I wish I knew when we played, with the context that I was getting little brother moded. Like no one touched me for the first 40 minutes of every match, and then I kind of just would forfeit once Ronnie or Grant or you was dead, because otherwise it's kind of lame if I win because no one's fighting me. But it's definitely like very intimidating to start games like that, because first of all, what's happening? I didn't even play the tutorial. I remember I sent Ben a message, should I play the tutorial or not, before we stream, and then you read it after the stream. Yeah. I was like, that's funny.
It's funny you say, my message is I do not want this genre to be intimidating to folks. I think people look at RTS games and they think like,
it looks like a lot.
It looks like a lot, and they know that it's, okay, StarCraft is big in esports, but it's like, yeah, the NFL exists. That means you can still throw the old pigskin around with your friends and have a good time. Like, you can still boot up this game and have a blast making armies and ramming them against each other. You don't need to be a professional level, especially if you have like one or two friends who also just enjoy a casual RTS arena. It's so damn fun.
I guess when I throw a football, though, I don't have to create an economy. Like, I don't have to balance resources for multiple people to live.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing, Haley, is in Retold, like, it's also available on Xbox, Game Pass, all that stuff. And it's wild that they added in there this option where you can, it's also on the PC version, you can just click a button that's like front and center on there and just be like, villagers, just collect an accurate average amount of resources that you need. And then they just automatically do it. It's really weird, but...
Our first match we played, I didn't know that was a thing, so I was constantly like, I had to have 3 times more wood than I should have gold, and I'd like be like, you guys, work on the gold. Like, I was moving them around manually, which was taking 10 times longer to do anything.
Right.
And then you pointed out, like, look at this little section. And it was cool because it had, like, if you're in age 1, press this button.
Yep.
And I did it. And then it was like, I didn't have to think about that anymore. And I could start focusing on, okay, what the hell else can I learn in this? Instead of moving manually every dude to different wood, gold, or, like, cow piles to get resources. So I thought that was cool. And it changes the amounts you need per era. So I got to era 2 at one point, and I just went up and clicked era 2. And in that era, I guess they prioritize meat a bit more because now you're getting way more people and stuff like that. So I thought that was great. There's a lot of, I think if you just got to learn those, like, press these 6 buttons and then relax and figure stuff out. Like, there are mechanisms for people like me who was like, what the hell am I looking at? It's like, just press this button and take your time with the other systems and read them and learn them.
Yep.
And like, you know, I jumped into a multiplayer match with you guys who all knew exactly what was going on, but which won't happen to normal people. But that was also really fun because I got to, like, I sent a scout out and I'd be like, oh, what's Ben doing? And he'd have like 10,000 crocodiles and like all these things that were like a camel with a gun on its back and stuff. And I was like, I have an archer, so I'm super boned. But it made me want to get better to like figure out how to be quick like you guys. Like, Ronnie was getting into every era and it shows up on screen to be like, Ronnie's in era 2. And I had like a cow. I was like, what the hell? It's just so fast. It'd be fun to learn how to just, you start the game and you're like, what buttons do I press to get really fast at this? Like, that's a cool thing to try to learn.
Yeah, you just lock down the build order, but I don't want you to make it seem like we knew exactly what we're doing because I know you couldn't see my perspective during the gameplay, but if anyone knows this game and saw me stream this game for the first time, I'm sure they were laughing. But to be fair, I do know all the moves in Age of Mythology Retold, but the trick is like, they have changed the UI in a really wild way where they changed all of the hotkeys to be in line with Age of Empires 4, which is a good move. But when I have muscle memory after 22 years of playing this game, and it's like, oh God, E is no longer house? Like, what is going on here? And not only did they change all the hotkeys, but they also changed like the icons for all of the things. So when I can't figure out, okay, this hotkey isn't accurate anymore. Now I'm looking at the little icons. Which is this power up now? Like, just feeling like you're reuniting with an old friend, but they've had radical plastic surgery and just trying to squint at like, what is going on?
They're hot now.
Yeah, way too hot. The keys. Oh.
But did you find after a couple matches, you're like, okay, I could just relearn this in a few seconds, like it's okay?
Yeah, especially if you're still in the groove of like Age of Empires 4, I feel like it's going to be a pretty seamless transition over to this. But like they also, they added a whole new god for the Norse, which is a huge change. There's been a ton of interesting little changes along the way to try to even this game out. And they added a whole new 5th age and stuff. And they made it so that all your god powers are now reusable, because it's like, why not have more fun? Like the god powers are fun big swings in this game where, like, Kyle, the way it works, you choose a god from from Greek pantheon, Norse pantheon, Egyptian, Atlantean, if you want to be boring. And so you're choosing the big god, but then along the path, you're leveling up to different ages, hence the Age of Empires thing, right? But every time you go to a different age, you're choosing between a minor deity. You're choosing like, okay, do you want to worship this god? It gives you this power, or this god, it gives you this perks and this powers. And so those powers are really fun. They can be really big swings, especially once you get towards the end. And like, for me, one of my moves is I can just rain meteors from the sky and just kind of like take out a whole town, like the nuke in StarCraft, basically, or get a tornado walking through, or like Leo or Ronnie and Grant as the Norse. They have a power where they can just turn an entire forest alive called Walking Woods, and the trees just come out and start attacking the villagers. Like, it's just fun, cool, big swings like that. And so to have that now on a cooldown, I think is an interesting idea of like, yeah, these big things can happen. Let them happen more than just once per round, So I think it's a great remake, remaster, whatever the hell you want to call it so far. And it's awesome to see it come back alive. And it's kind of reaffirmed something that I think we've talked about before, but like in terms of Microsoft's franchises, the way they're treating the Age of Empires franchise is like, I think it's Microsoft's most successful franchise at this point. And like the numbers have been good for Age of Empires 4 and for this, but like you can bash Microsoft's handling of games over the last decade all you want, but like Age fans are eating good. Like they're really taking care of us, and hopefully it can withstand and more people are jumped into this thing. And yeah, don't be scared of it. Haley, I would love to play more if you ever want to.
Yeah, no, I'd be down to play more. I liked when you built that Titan and you destroyed all your other resources, all your other people, and you just walked him across the map to fight Nora.
Yeah.
It's like stuff like that can happen, and I just resigned so I could watch that fight. It was fun.
Yeah, it's cool. But that's Age of Mythology Retold. Also, yeah, on Xbox and on Game Pass. I haven't played it on controller yet, but people say the Age of Empires 4 on controller.
I wonder if it'd be easier for players like me to play on controller.
No, I mean, you do enough PC gaming that I wouldn't think so, but
I guess so. But you'd think it would like boil it down to be everything is only a couple clicks away instead of like a couple menus away.
Yeah, that could be.
Like Baldur's Gate.
Try it Baldur's Gate style. Hey, Kyle, do you know what happens if someone goes to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's and they jump in at even the, I'd say, $2 tier to help support independent games media before the end of Friday the 13th?
I mean, they get an undeniable sense of accomplishment and pride.
They also get access to the Discord. They also get access to submitting questions for the MinnMax show every week. They can also submit comments for the Deepest Dive. We have part 2 of Mirror's Edge's Deepest Dive coming up soon. Also, Kyle, did you know this? I will DM them personally. This is not a bot. It's not AI. The only AI is this eye up here in eye. My brain, that is. So anyways, I'll message you and offer you a Steam code. You can choose if you want a Steam code for Phantom Spark, which is a new racing game, kind of part Wipeout, part F-Zero, but it's at 98% positive reviews on Steam, so you can get a code for that. Or if you want to roll the dice, I can send you a random Steam game, or you can get 2 Xbox games, also random Xbox games. So if you support MinnMax on Patreon, you want to help support what we're doing here, you've enjoyed these conversations, you enjoy the podcast, you enjoy our additional content, jump in before the end of Friday the 13th, and I will message you. I'll chat with you a bit, and then also you get some games. So help support us. We appreciate it. And of course, thank you to some of our biggest supporters like I Am 8-Bit. They want everybody to know about Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, everybody. They have the physical version of this game on their store. They have a PlayStation version and a Nintendo Switch version and an Xbox version. This is the I Am 8-Bit exclusive version of Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. This has a graffiti art booklet, including art from the game, a collectible O sleeve. It has graffiti stickers, digital download code for the DLC. There's a ton in there. And then also in their wonderful online store, they have the vinyl soundtrack to Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, which is huge. They are going all out to celebrate this game at I Am 8-Bit's wonderful online store, so you can check that out. And You can help support I'm 8-Bit because they support the MinnMax community in a big way each and every week by shipping out a prize to whoever has the best question of the week. Whoever impresses us the most with their knowledge, their insight, the laser blast of a fun question, whatever makes the show better, that person gets a prize. And this week, it's the vinyl soundtrack for Vampire Survivors. Thanks to I'm 8-Bit. They're just going to ship that out to their house. And you can use the promo code Do You Remember for 10% off of everything in I'm 8-Bit's wonderful online store. So help support them, keep them around, keep them shipping up prizes to the MinnMax community. You all ready for community questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Bayleaf Moon writes in, hey, delinquents. Oh, Bayleaf, come on. Which games do you still prefer the original version over its remastered/remake?
Pretty much every Wii game that then got remastered later on because I miss waggling the Wii remote.
Oh.
A lot of pixelated games that got remakes. Usually, I still prefer the original. Like Mega Man X was remade for PSP in like polygonal 3D. And
right.
I like that game. I like Maverick Hunter X, but like I love the original. The original still feels better and plays better because pixel graphics are sort of allow you to be more specific in like platforming and shooting and stuff like that than polygonal 3D graphics.
Yeah, it makes me think of like Cave Story for the 3DS and stuff, where it's like, that's not going to age as well as like the core Cave Story experience.
Yeah.
Demon Souls is one for me.
Interesting.
I just think that original art style has more like sauce than the remake. The remake's great, but I just aesthetically I prefer the original.
Yeah, I can dig it.
I've been emulating a lot lately, and it's like of games that have been remastered, like Bully and Sly Cooper, and I could play the remasters for sure, but I like getting the retro achievements, as I've talked about, and it's like if I am playing them for nostalgia, it's like more nostalgic to play the actual thing. So I have been preferring the originals for that reason lately. It's just like it's interesting to go back to that generation and not like pretend it came out in this generation. Yeah.
Right. Graham Jones says, hey, this is a question for Leo and only Leo. A few months ago, Leo talked about using a Steam Deck to play older games, I believe from the Xbox 360 era. I was wondering what are some of his top recommendations from what he's played recently. Are there games that have been surprisingly well adapted to play on Steam Deck?
I am not sure that I have many that I haven't already talked about. I'll list those real quick. Middle-earth Shadow of War was great to go back to on there. Rise of the Tomb Raider, Mad Max, all awesome. I have a list of games I intend to get to someday that are probably good, if that'll help you.
Okay.
On Steam Deck. Mafia 3 is probably going to be fun.
Wait, and so you're emulating these?
No, these are just on Steam. And
Right.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to say, these are all just PC games, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
BioShock 2, which I've never played. I bet I'll enjoy that when I play it on Steam Deck.
Yeah.
Dead Rising 1. Of course, the remaster's now been announced.
Coming very, very soon. I'd argue maybe next week.
One of the games I jumped into when I first got my Steam Deck was Castlevania Lords of Shadow.
Yeah.
Which is like just a great Xbox 360 game. I just love that game, so it's like maybe I just love that game and would love it no matter where it is. But it ran well and played well on Steam Deck, so that's a recommendation for me.
Yeah.
That's great. The question was for me.
Yeah, they specifically said, and now they can't win question of the week because we defiled their question. Thanks a lot. You threw Graham's dreams away, buddy. Also, Arkham Knight, Leo played and he forgot about.
Yes, thank you.
But sorry again, Graham. I'm kicking you in the face here. I apologize. Let's see. Hey, pop quiz.
Shame on you.
This is just for Kyle. Kyle, I'll give you $5, 5 doll hairs, if you can tell me the name of Max Spielberg's game that was shown during Gamescom opening night live.
Oh no!
Can anybody here remember the name of that game with the subtitle?
Boom Blocks 4?
It's Boom Blocks 4. Everyone forgets it. I don't know why, but it was Boom Blocks 4. No, Kyle, it was Linked: Banner of the Spark. Come on, man.
I never would have got that.
Linked.
Hey, Bon John Bovey writes in, says, as a former video game composer, last week's discussion of and subsequent failure to recall various gaming themes was really interesting to me.
A horrifying thing to listen to and not be there.
Horrifying. At the same time, here's what I want to defend everybody with.
On the Starfield theme, Jacob, do it now.
I can't do that, but I can do Indiana Jones.
But okay, I do want to defend, because everyone gets cocky about this, but you don't take into account that being on a podcast is slightly nerve-wracking, and if you're nervous, like the
Your brain clears the cache.
You cannot recall things. Like I remember, I always think of when Huber was hosting his first trivia
You were doing
tower.
it just then. You couldn't remember.
I couldn't remember Huber's name. No, when Huber was hosting his first trivia tower and Kyle Bossman was on, they were doing a category where they would hum video game music. And we had like a pre-show and I was talking to them and I was like, I know it seems insane, but Bossman, you should really have that video game song. It was some song from Kingdom Hearts. Like, have that on YouTube ready to go because you might forget it during the show. And he's like, there's no way I'm forgetting this Kingdom Hearts song. He's like, okay. And then like during the episode, he's like, Hanson was right. I don't know how, but my brain cannot remember this. And I remember even Dan.
You jinxed it.
I know, but like Dan Riker was in that category. And
was it Dearly Beloved? Because I could hum that right now.
no, it was like Traverse Town or some cool stuff.
Couldn't hum that.
Okay. So I'm defending Janet and everybody else for saying being on the podcast is scary. When you're scared, you can't recall distant songs. But unless it's unless it's
Billy on the Street. Name a Woman, one of the best moments in
I love it. I pull that clip up all the time.
Yeah, it's exactly that. Unless it's Leo and sing the Game Awards theme. It's perfect. Okay.
I was listening to that this morning.
Wow.
In my run.
Haley, one of your favorite series of all time. Can you sing, not from the show, from the games, the Pokemon main theme?
I can't.
Dun, 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 dun. And when I
From the show, you said?
No, not from the show. All right, this
from the game. Yeah. That's insane that I couldn't pull that.
It's weird.
How many times I've heard that theme?
Okay, Jacob Geller.
Real quick, do you remember that when we went to the Pokemon Company and Masuda was like showing us around? And he sat down at a keyboard. He's like, I composed the original. And then he looked at us. He's like, I don't play piano.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Love that. That was so funny.
But we got like B-roll of him pretending to play songs on the piano. Like,
That's
this
so
is
funny.
good enough for me. This is all right. Okay, Jacob, one of your favorite games of all time. Give me the character select theme for Smash Melee. I know you're a Brawl man. I'm sorry, but
No, but it's like. Oh, you know what? I'm remembering. No, this is terrible because I'm remembering the Break the Targets theme, which I could do. The
Is
like.
that the
What is the?
I got 64. The dun 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 dun.
Right.
But this is, we are going to be ashamed of our words and deeds. Do you want to take a stab at Melee's character select theme before you hear it and you say, oh my God, what have we done? Okay, this is it, everybody.
Oh my God.
What have we done?
How could we ask for a theme to be
with
any
me?
more good or memorable than that?
I know, we have truly failed. Kyle.
Composer did a bad job. Sorry.
That's right. Kyle, last one. Guile's theme. Iconic.
I'm not a Street Fighter player.
I know, but it's like the classic, it goes with everything.
Isn't that Blanca's theme that goes
No,
with
it's
everything?
Guile's theme.
Oh. I don't know. I don't play. I really don't know it. I'm not a Street Fighter guy at any capacity, so I fail. Why don't you give me a game I like, Ben?
I'm not interested in doing
Why
that.
don't you give me Pokemon?
Half-Life theme.
Yeah,
Kyle.
do it.
Half-Life theme, I think, is just like Lynchian style electronics humming in the background.
Hum it. Kyle, hum it then. All right, this guy games. I'll be damned. Let's see. Michael Berry wrote in and says, I remember watching Guts' Nickelodeon's American Gladiator knockoff for kids when I was younger. I always wanted to get a piece of the aggro crag. By the way, everybody on every podcast is obsessed with this aggro crag. I don't even know. I have no idea what this is. It's just, I feel like it's. I'm living in some
not a
alternate-
Nickelodeon kid.
No,
right? You didn't-
no.
Yeah. No, I have looked it up on eBay
question.
in the last 10 years.
Well, let me keep going with it, Jacob. You'll come around. Anyways, the aggro crag, which is, I always wanted to get a piece of the aggro crag, which is a piece of the mountain the kids had to scale in the final challenge. Occasionally look to see if any former winners are selling their trophy on eBay, and no luck so far. What are your summer? Oh yeah.
That's a weird gimmick because like by 8 seasons in, the aggro crag's like 2 feet tall.
Yeah, that's tough. It just, they should be adding more onto it over time. I think.
Exactly.
But
I
what,
was on a Nickelodeon game show episode when I was a little kid. And
What?
I dare someone to find it because I can't remember. It's because we were visiting the park and they were looking for children to be in an episode and they pulled me in and I was on it. And I can't remember what it was. It might have never even aired. But if anyone wants to find it and tag me in it, that would be hilarious because I've
Your
never.
parents don't remember?
No, they don't remember what the show was called or what I just remember we did it was a big sound stage and there was an audience and we did little tasks and it was Nickelodeon.
What? I do remember hearing about this where there was one kid that was so embarrassing and she kept picking her nose that they just couldn't air the footage.
They canceled the whole show.
And they killed the host? That's weird. Oh, that would drive me nuts knowing that might be out there.
2001 or 2002 maybe.
Okay, get digging.
Probably would have said your family name, right?
Yeah, they would have said Haley. Maybe they just said Haley though, because I was so little. They wouldn't want to give the whole. They just do the sticker with the name Haley on it or something.
Yeah.
Right, it was just you, not your family.
Weird. Yeah, it was just me.
Interesting.
I was the cute one of the siblings. Haha.
There it is. Michael, did they really look at all the kids and be like, you?
They came up and asked my parents if they could take me in to be on the show.
To become a Jedi. But Michael says, what are some of your most obscure eBay searches or purchases?
It's not that obscure, but my wife and I just share an eBay account, right? So she just noticed once that I was looking at Virtual Boys. And then within a month, she's like, I'm going to get you a Virtual Boy. You look for this thing, you look at Virtual Boys like once a year at least to see how much they are. And she's like, I'm buying you a Virtual Boy. So she got me a Virtual Boy and I played through the Wario Land Virtual Boy game.
That's so nice.
It was awful. It was a good game. The Wario VR game is very good. Virtual Boy game is very good, but the experience of playing Virtual Boy is terrible.
Did you put it in your cart? Or she just saw my history and saw that I had looked at a bunch because I was like, I had a threshold I didn't want to go past. I was like, I don't want to pay anymore. I don't even remember. I was like, if it's more than $100, I don't want to buy it. And the one she ended up getting me was like 130 or 140 or something like that. But now I have a Virtual Boy. That's cool. Yeah.
I think the only thing I bought on eBay is the Soldier 76 Overwatch statue because they didn't sell the Origins Edition version anymore, and I just wanted the statue, and some dude sold me this.
Nice.
That's all.
And you're happy?
I love him. Yeah,
that's true.
My best friend.
Yeah, I got a really dorky one that I think I showed off on Instagram, and I talked about it when I made Jeff play this game, but I've really fallen in love with this arcade game called Volfeed this year from 1989, but it frickin' rules. You can check out a video of me training Jeff on MinnMax's YouTube channel. And so I went on eBay and I found old arcade art for Volfeed. It was kind of it's the, is it called the marquee? The thing at the top of the arcade cabinet, the big kind of plastic rectangle. And so I bought just a big one of that's just a dragon chasing a little spaceship, which isn't even in the game. Cool. But yeah, so I got that and I put it up above our little arcade space, and no one has given me crap for it yet, which is very sweet. My wife saw me opening the package and was like, what is this? Remember that game that I stay up really late at the lake playing every night? And she's like, oh, okay, sure. I'm glad you're having fun. Ricky Maru writes in and says, hey, everybody, all this talk of a PS5 Pro, but what truly is the piece of technology you really want a professional model of? For example, would you like an air conditioning pro, a dishwasher pro, a lamp pro, a microwave pro, portable console pro, a printer pro? Now, these are great questions.
I gotta go vegetable slicer.
You have a tough time with that?
That's the slap top, Leo.
Oh, is that the vegetable slicer pro? Okay, great. I'll pick that up.
What about, I do like the idea, Neil Smith watching us live Backstage Pass here, the dishwasher pro.
Yeah, because there's always a couple spoons or whatever that didn't get hit enough, and it's if it could just be perfect, if I could get 60 FPS on my dishwashing,
right,
that would be pretty good.
I would watch
was it 30 Rock? The big finale for 30 Rock is Alec Baldwin's character comes up with the idea of a dishwasher that you could see into.
Right.
Yeah, and I was like, that actually sounds incredible. I would love that.
Oh, can you imagine Mark Cerny detailing a dishwasher with his dulcet tones? I'd be so into that. But imagine a dishwasher where you don't gotta pre-rinse anything or put it in a certain slot. It was just literally just basically put a steak dishes
in there and it'll clean the dish.
Yep, just put it in a bussing tray level thing and it'll take care of everything after that. That's it. I'd pay 700 bones for that, man.
Ice Maker Pro.
Ice Maker.
Ooh,
I love ice. This bunch of different nugget ice, the little ones with the little holes in the middle. Big square cubes.
Yeah, what if it could give you, I have one of those big circle molds, but it's like you gotta fill it up and put it in every time. And it's like, yeah, what if you could just be like, give me a sphere, and then it could give you like a big one.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Haley, for a second, I thought you were turning into like the Bubba Gump of ice. Just listing all these different types of ice you're super into.
I love ice. Like, that's not a joke. I love ice.
No one thinks you're joking, certainly.
It's not a joke.
All right, we got it.
Okay.
Phil McCrackup, come on. Speaking of not a joke, ladies and gentlemen, sit down at home. Sit down. Phil says, hey, MinnMax, which came first, the color orange or the fruit?
What? The color or our naming of it?
This is a trick question, right? Because it is the fruit. It's like the fruit, the color is named after the fruit.
What else is naturally
The fruit
orange?
existed before
Sunsets
language.
and stuff.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. So is the question that the fruit was called orange before the color?
I think maybe that's where they're going, but that's a good point.
Because orange is in nature.
So it turns out that
Tigers.
oranges are called orange the color in a lot of languages, a lot of European languages. But then looking into it, apparently a lot of languages call oranges something to do with China, which is where they originated. So in Dutch, let's see, in addition to Dutch, the word in Finnish is appelsini, or Chinese apple. In Puerto Rican Spanish, the fruit is simply called China. Let us know if that's correct. That's from Quora, so let us know, everybody.
China the country or China the fruit?
I can't tell.
It's
Or
also one of
vitamin
those
C
things
in your diet. Vitamins. China.
where it's like, according to color theory, orange is not like a real color. It's just like lighter brown.
What are
or
you
whatever.
talking
or
about?
Or maybe it's brown is darker orange or something, but it's like, it's not on a color wheel. I think it's brown.
Does anyone
is
know
real.
if he's
No
making
one-
sense?
I mean, Tell me, orange isn't
real,
real.
but it's like, it's not kind of one of the like colors that appears when you're like, here's the spectrum of colors.
Ugh, whatever,
What?
Jacob.
That pisses me
I'll
off.
make a YouTube video about it, Jacob.
Yeah, go tell your community. Luis Perez writes in and says, hey gang, time for an inflation adjustment pricing game. The new PS5 Pro will cost a sweet $700 without its disk drive. Let's be simple and assume that's our base comparison price. Now, considering for inflation, can you name 3 consoles that would be more expensive than the PS5 Pro if they were sold nowadays?
The
The Amiga 1000.
You think so? Is that what you're saying to me right now?
Without inflation, that's more, right?
Yeah, the Amiga was $1,000 like on release.
Oh, yeah. I guess you just
'Cause it's
dove
a
into that
computer.
for your new video, right?
The gold Wii they gave to the Queen.
Incorrect.
What?
Jaguar was my real guess, because I think Jaguar was another console that was like absurdly expensive at launch.
I'm
right?
not seeing it on this fella's list. So sit down.
The PS2 was expensive. No, the PS2 was cheap.
But
PS3 was expensive.
correct. The PS3, both versions of it, adjusting for inflation, if the 20 gigabyte and 60 gigabyte versions were released today, it'd be $778 and $934.
But that has a disk
Woof.
drive. So deduct whatever additional costs.
And
Yeah, it was a Blu-ray player.
And backwards
Blu-ray
compatible.
players cost like $200 back then.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's true. The most expensive. Oh, yes,
Anyone
Leo.
say the gold Wii they gave the Queen?
Do not give him that.
I think Leo takes it with the gold Wii they gave the Queen.
I'm going to drag you all into the kitchen in a world.
No, don't.
Shoot you.
You don't even add that last part. The Neo Geo, adjusted for inflation, cost $1,500.
Oh my god.
The Atari 2600 was over $1,000. Sega Saturn was $823. Intellivision was $1,100, which sounds like a lot, but once you saw how fun those games were, we'd all come crawling and begging
You
for
saw
more.
the pixels in the
Oh,
background.
when games
man.
got invented too. So
That's right.
We didn't
And
know what we were doing.
and relatively, games were wildly expensive back then. I mean, even N64 games, you look back at catalogs, like, how is this game costing $100? What is going on here?
It's weird to see disparate prices when you look back at old games, like starting like in that Super
Right.
Nintendo era. Like different games cost like wildly different amounts. It was weird.
Yeah, it was weird. Funky Duck writes in, so I hope everyone gets that message that if you dare complain about spending $700, you're a bad person. I think that's the takeaway, clearly. Funky Duck writes in and says, how long do you guys hold on to birthday cards?
I keep every one.
Do you really?
I have a box. I put them in.
Whoa. How often do you look through those?
Not as often as I should. When I moved last, I was looking at them because I was pulling out the box. But
Do you
I have a bag I put them in after about 3 weeks, give or take.
Call it the bin? Hell yeah. I think the secret is just, if it's really sweet, if it's not a trash card, take a picture of it, store it in Google Photos, and then frickin' toss it. And then it is satisfying to go into Google Photos and look up like card and like, oh, let me just read through all of the cards I've gotten in one convenient place. You're not carrying around a big sack.
That kind of rips out the point of a card, though, because they could have just texted you then. You know, it's like the whole point is they went out and bought you a physical item and wrote in it.
No. I think the heart of it is the handwriting, and that is immortal, Haley. You get to see the personality in the handwriting. You know, that's more important than any tactile feel.
What they did? That movie, Her, wasn't it his job?
Haley, I was going to bring this up, and then I was like, "That's a stupid thing to bring up." But yes, I was thinking of exactly that.
Hopefully, it wasn't stupid when I said it. Hopefully,
no, it's great because I was thinking of it.
You know what was cool in Her?
That video game he plays.
The video game he played from the developer of Mountain. No, like that statue that he just looks at for a bit, where it's just an airplane. Do you remember this? And the nose is like in the ground, and then I was like, that does seem like a statue that could exist in the future. I want to see that. That's an awesome statue idea of just airplane with just the nose is touching the ground. That's the future I want to live in, man. Yeah. Sean Rubin writes in, says, hey, everybody. The other day during Trivia Tower, one of the Hail Mary questions during the first round was a before and after style question. Last summer, I got into a groove writing one of those a day and testing the MinnMax Discord. I also sent in 7 questions on an episode to test out the cohorts. That was during Ben's paternity leave. Jeffem did pretty well last time. So let's do another round without Jeffem to see who can get these. So we're combining the names of 2 games. We call it 2 games, 1 name in Trivia Tower. So y'all ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm reading a combined description. You tell me the 2 games that have been slammed together. Wake up and smell the ashes in this revolutionary first-person shooter that launched a PC gaming empire. And don't forget your headset for this overly ambitious PS2 title that was primarily controlled through voice recognition.
Half-Lifeline.
Half-Lifeline! Kyle, ladies and gentlemen. Tell your family what you accomplished here today, Kyle.
I thought it was something to do with Hey You Pikachu. I was like, Hey You something.
No. Hey You Pikmin. Okay, long before Guerrilla Games made Horizon Zero Dawn, they produced this sci-fi FPS for the PS2. A Halo killer it was not. And while this mech fighting game was fairly well received, it's most known for including a demo of the...
Can I take this one?
Yeah, someone yell out their name or something.
Jacob, Killzone of the Enders.
Killzone of the Enders, you got
nice.
it. With procedural generation pushed beyond its limits, this game failed to live up to the hype at launch, but has since gotten much better. This title revived a Sony mascot.
No Man's Skylanders.
No Man's Skylanders, Leo Vader.
Nice.
Spyro coming back from the dead. Way to go. All right.
Flying purple guy, as he's called, an Astro Bot.
That's right.
Little flying purple guy.
Haley, do you have thoughts on that? Never mind. We already talked about that last week, didn't we? Like legally, there's no reason. Never mind. We don't need to talk about that again. What do y'all like for question of the week? And
I like when they asked Leo for Steam Deck recommendation.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, we can't honor Graham after how we defiled his questions. Leo, what was yours going to be?
The eBay question got Haley's Nickelodeon story, which hopefully will pay off soon.
I hope that will pay off.
Oh, that is true. All right, I'll go with that. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, great. I also liked when I asked Kyle the name of that game that Max Spielberg's working on, which of course Kyle is
Linked.
Subtitle, please.
Banner.
Something.
Banner of the Sith.
Yep.
Spark?
You were
Is
right
it linked?
there.
Was it at least linked?
It's linked Banner of the Spark.
Okay, I knew it was linked because of the Zelda of it, but that's as far as I got.
Michael Berry, congratulations. You just won the Vampire Survivors vinyl thanks to I Am 8-Bit. And now, of course...
Is the podcast you listen to while playing included on the vinyl?
Yep. All right, now it's time for something we call Get a Load of This. Was that a respectful yep, Leo?
Sure.
Okay, good.
I felt respected.
Okay, good. All right. Hey, get a load of this, everybody. Did you all know that there's a Zelda manga? Kit and Krista on their podcast were talking about. I was like, I forget that exists in Japan, but like they have had this going for so long. So they have manga adaptations of Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, The Oracle of Ages and Seasons, Four Swords, Minish Cap, Link to the Past, Phantom Hourglass, Skyward
Kyle.
Sword.
Yeah, I started reading Majora's Mask recently.
Really? How's the manga?
Not that recently, if I'm being honest. It was like a year ago.
Is
But
it
I
good?
only got like a couple chapters in. But it's weird because Link like talks and is like a character that people know. His personality, it's strange.
Can you open up and say the first line that Link says in Majora's Mask, please?
I was holding the full set.
Excuse me, princess.
Yeah, I think so.
The Twilight Princess art in the manga for that is so cool.
Really?
I love the art style for that one. Yeah.
Damn. All right, Kyle.
I was reading the book backwards. I don't think he knows how to read.
Sorry, I'm trying. It's a lot of Mask Salesman preamble here.
I gotta have that. Yeah.
Ready to go, Epona?
That's what he's gonna say in the movie.
Saying that?
Yeah, he's gonna. This is the opening line in the trailer for the Zelda film. Leo,
Get a load of this.
yes, please.
People make games. The excellent kind of journalistic collective, whatever, Chris Pratt and Quinn's on YouTube have a new video called "The Games Behind Your Government's Next War," which is a truly an incredible piece of journalism and a very fascinating look into war gaming, which is like when governments use kind of war games to make guesses about what war might be like. And most striking is like they are mostly still, when he starts, he's like, now you might be picturing like old guys with white mustaches pushing ships around on a map.
Right.
And that is kind of what it is. And it's like, then they show, like, they were allowed to go into, like, the British Wargaming Institute or whatever and, like, see all these things. And a lot of them are, like, big maps with a lot of tiles that they're, like, pushing around. It is an incredibly weird video that's talking about kind of the ethics and all of this. But one of the weirdest things is that Quinn's, who was at sit down and shut up, the like board game channel for a long time, he goes to a convention and everyone there immediately recognizes him because they're all big board game nerds and now they're making games for their militaries to like simulate wars, and it's very
interesting.
Wow.
Cool. Yeah, link below if you want to check that out.
Hey, get a load of this. So I've been I did a Disney trip recently, and I've been getting into like just reading about the rides and stuff, and like I've been enjoying podcast the podcast. There's a ride at Epcot called Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. It's a cool Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster, and they play like there's 6 songs that they will randomly play when you ride the ride. One of which is September by Earth, Wind, and Fire. But on September 21st, that's just the only song that plays all day during that ride, which I just thought was just like a fun, goofy little thing that was, you know, get a little of this.
If anyone's
Those
going to
poor
think about
workers.
something. Yeah. Oh my God, what a nightmare.
That's super cute. Get a load of this. I'm Miss Game Informer, so I bought this Time magazine Pokemon. It was like kind of trying to fill the hole. I don't know. It was cute looking. But they had an interview in here from 1999 that they republished with creator of Pokemon, Satoshi Tazari. And the way he works is crazy. So the first question they ask is, "Are you okay? You look pretty tired." And he says, "It's the way I work. I sleep 12 hours and then I work 24 hours." And he says, "I've been working those hours for 3 years straight." Isn't that fascinating?
No
that
wonder
that
all
the
of his
human brain can do that?
Yeah, and he's like, my new character is called Snorlax. You'll never guess where he comes from.
Haley, is that like an old interview? Is that what that is? It's like,
Yeah, it's from 1999.
Okay, because when doing like research for the Pokemon history piece, like that's like one of the few interviews I think he's done ever.
Oh, wow.
Right? I could be wrong about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does not talk much to press.
Do you remember with Pokemon Sword and Shield? I think they released this publicly, but it's like, hey, we have concept art that Tajiri drew for Pokemon Sword and Shield, and it was for like the tech equipment in that game, and it was, to call it a napkin scribble is generous. It was like, obviously legendary creator and all this stuff, but it was like, okay, this is the level of his involvement. Are these 14 lines? Okay, sure, sounds great. Hey, get a load of this from the MinnMax community in the Discord channel. All day, every day, fun facts, fun stories flowing through that channel. The greatest news feed you could hope for. But Mr. Buttons shared this tweet from Double Fine after Astro Bot came out, where Double Fine tweeted, "We love platformers here at Double Fine, so imagine our smiles playing Astro Bot and seeing what seems to be a familiar face. In 2013, we collaborated with Japan Studios on the Playroom's My Alien Buddy, and it seems like a version of our green friend is still on a rampage." And so the alien in the UFO throughout Astro Bot, that was originally created by Double Fine, the Microsoft studio. So isn't that funky?
That alien design is so weird and does not match the aesthetic of the rest of the game. And it's like really fun to be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but his writing's really good, so it's a Double Fine game.
Yeah.
Leo, did you find one you hack?
Get a load of this. Did you know the power button on your microwave just changes the amount of time the microwave's on? If you put it on power level 50, it makes it so half the time the microwave's on, it turns off, goes back on, turns off for the same amount of seconds.
What?
And they use it so if you're cooking something that you don't want to super cook the outside and leave the middle cold, happens a lot with the microwave. It gives it more time off where it's still kind of cooking, the heat's circulating through it, so it doesn't superheat the outside. It kind of heats more thoroughly if you put it on power level 50 or whatever. So I've been doing that for everything for reheating stuff.
Wow, that's good.
Wow.
Leo, you had one, man. You had the whole episode and you pulled out a gem.
Thanks. I'm full of little gems, aren't I?
That's right. They're called blood cells. Well, hey, thank you, everybody, for tuning into this episode of the MinnMax Show podcast. Greatly appreciate it. I feel like we're on one of those weird, good stretches of content here where we just have so much stuff rolling out over the last couple weeks and continuing into the future here. So if you enjoy what we're doing, if you check out our YouTube channel, you enjoy everything going on there, we'd always appreciate it if you help support independent games media directly by going to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. I'll DM you a code for a random Steam game or Phantom Spark the racing game or 2 Xbox games if you support before the end of this Friday here. But we have The Deepest Dive on Mirror's Edge. The first half is up right now on YouTube, and then in the bonus podcast feed, which you unlock at the $5 tier, is a fun listen. So thank you all for checking that out. It's nice to, listen to the community when they're screaming like, "Hey, do a retro game." It's like, all right, Mirror's Edge, everybody. And then people show up and they play it, and it's a fun celebration of that game. It's fun to hear y'all talk about it. And Alex Van Aken is doing a great job hosting that thing. If you unlock the podcast version of Mirror's Edge and The Deepest Dives, you also get access to Bonus Pod, which is the Patreon exclusive podcast that airs every Monday, exclusive to that feed that Haley hosts. This last episode, also a great example, I think, of us listening to the community, where some people, we're getting feedback on Reddit and elsewhere about what people want. A lot of people scream politely about we want shallow dives. We're sick of you all talking about a game for 10 minutes on a podcast or talking about it for 16 hours for The Deepest Dive. There's got to be a middle ground, and hopefully we're doing more of that on the podcast. But on Bonus Pod, there's a bit of a shallow dive, if you will, into Jacob Geller's favorite game of all time, The Beginner's Guide, from the co-creator of Stanley Parable. And that episode, Haley mentioned it, and I think she's right. That is top 3 Bonus Pod episodes of all time. You and Jacob and Leo were so good on that.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
It went some weird places. We weren't talking about games by the end of it, just our brain chemistry and how we think.
Yeah, just about nostalgia and art and perspective and it is exactly the reason why Bonus Pod exists, because I don't think that conversation could exist on the main podcast, but having an avenue for everyone to relax and really get more personal and interesting. That's where we save the interesting discussions, is for Bonus Pod, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah.
Behind a paywall, baby.
That's right. Unlock it, please.
Great chat. I also, if you want to see me play Wild Bastards, I'm streaming it on twitch.tv/MinnMax Show on Thursday the 12th, the day this podcast drops, at 2:30 Central.
Sweet. Yeah, check that out. Or it's on, we have an additional MinnMax Stream Archives channel. The link is in the description if you want to check that out, everybody. Let's see. Trivia Tower happened this week as well. Good Lord. Also on Monday. I hosted this one, but Huber will be returning in the future. But I was very excited to have Alana Pierce, formerly of IGN, a game writer working on God of War Ragnarok and a bunch of other stuff. And so content creator, of course. And so it's fun to get to know Alana a little bit better. It's a nice bonding experience to do charades with somebody while playing Trivia Tower. But it was a fun episode. She was a great co-host. Thanks everybody for supporting that show as it trucks along. We have a ton coming up. We have an interview that Kelsey Lewin and I recorded this week that was really cool. Like if you like video game history, it's going to be tough to top this. And so that video is coming out on Monday. So keep your eyes peeled for all that. It's also going to be in the bonus podcast feed. Let's see. We have another fun feature, I believe Kyle and Leo and some other folks are involved with that might be coming up soonish.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just recorded it last night. It was a blast.
Oh, really? Oh, great. So that's going to be edited and all that stuff. But if you enjoy some Game Informer series from the past, you can look alive there. Also, I want to shout out that we've got the big community meetup in Asheville, North Carolina, October 5th. Zillacoa Brewery will be there, and we have details on the Patreon. We'll be plugging that more in the future. But we are still locking down the exact brewery location. But Kelsey Lewin and I will be in Portland, Oregon on Friday, September 27th. So coming up soon here on that Friday evening, we'll be camping out at a brewery and saying hi to MinnMax community members. We'll have a post on Patreon once we lock down that brewery. I apologize for not having it locked down, but trying to find a brewery that can accommodate a group of us without having to reserve anything and pay a lot of money is tricky. So we're trying to get that locked down. But if you're in the Portland area, you want to come out, say hello to Kelsey and I, talk to some friendly folks about games. We'd love to meet you, especially if you're a game developer out there. Come out and say hi. We'd love to see you for sure because we're going to be doing some top secret project out there as well, which should be fun. Crowboy says new show overflow. Great point. This is diving in the weeds, but this is what part of the show is for. We hit our goal on Twitch, and so we owe you all a rejected new show plus idea. And I think we know what that first one's going to be. And so stay tuned for that. We just need to record it and then we'll get it out there. But I'm looking forward to reviving some of these rejected new show plus ideas. And we are like 2 subs away from hitting that goal again. So you're going to get 2 bonus New Show Plus episodes coming very soon for everybody here. But anybody else got anything to plug?
I have my Indie Game Summit talk next Saturday in Vancouver. And I think there's only a couple tickets left. So you should go to the Indie Game Summit in Vancouver if you live there.
Sell that thing out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Great. There'll be a link in the description if you want to learn more about that as well. All right, that is it for this episode of the MinnMax Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for supporting the show. We appreciate it. Thanks to everybody for playing them games. We'll be back next week. We got a lot to talk about. It's going to be fun. So we'll see you then. Be good. Have fun. Let's go, everybody.